you are gonna see some cool ass shit.
Yeah, you don't want two flavor flavors.
Heart transplants, brain surgeries. I've seen it all.
Dude, that's fucking dope. Walk up and just get it, whatever it is.
Yeah, brother.
I'm trying not to laugh, bro, but Josh is fucking killing me.
Guess what Navy SEALs do, motherfucker? They communicate and they're on the same fucking page.
Whoa.
Oh, and we're live.
Welcome everybody to the Happy Hoodlums Podcast. It's your host, the Happy Hoodlum himself, Mr. Kemper Woodruff, and today we have a very special guest in the house. We have a radio legend, Mr. Bill Prescott, in the house. Additionally, we got the rest of the crew. We got Josh and Zack too. So, Bill,
I really appreciate being called a legend by somebody other than me, so thanks, Kemper.
no problem. But I respect that. Look, you got to vote yourself in. I've been telling Zack forever. I said, I'm going to make a shirt. I'm in my grandma's house, so I got to say this kind of quiet, okay? But you got to suck your own dick in life, all right? And it needs to be a shirt. And I'm sorry that I got to open the episode with this, but this is a motto for life. If you don't vote in, sometimes...
I appreciate goals, but I always like my goals to be attainable. Somebody can do that, then good going. Congratulations.
Yeah, you just gotta grind.
What?
You gotta grind harder. Stupid. Anyway, look, Bill is a radio. I grew up listening to KGON with my pops, and it was just a huge influence in my life. You know, looking back at my life, the most impactful moments, some of them, especially with my dad, most of them are either on a mountain or in a concert. You know, I remember seeing...
taking you to concerts at a pretty young age?
Yeah. My first concert was Tom Petty and Jackson Browne, and I think I was like 5 years old.
Wow.
Damn. Yeah. Then he took me to a Ted Nugent concert, and it was Ted Nugent. Yeah, so Ted Nugent opened for ZZ Top, and I was probably like 7 years old, and I wound up getting lost at this concert, and I was like running around, and a bunch of adults were just trying to catch me, and so I was like, whoa, stranger danger, and I wound up actually like behind like the stage, and I bumped into ZZ Top, and they were dressed like wizards in these wizard outfits, right? And so I bumped into...
Yes.
I'm telling you, I was like 7 years old, and they were dressed like in these long purple cloaks or something.
Wow.
But I thought they were like wizards, and they gave me this autographed guitar and took me to a security guy who wound up finding me my way back to my dad, because my dad was freaking out, obviously. And so, yeah, they find my dad, they give me back to him, and my dad's like, where were you? And I was like, I met these wizards. And he's like, what? And then they came out on stage, and I was like, them. And he was like, you met the band? And I was like, yeah, dude.
Even at 5 years old, you knew how to get backstage. You just walked back like you owned, like you belong there.
Yeah.
You didn't pass that, and being 5, you know, that probably helped.
Exactly.
Where was that show? Was that in Portland, or where did you grow up?
I think that was in Washington, because it was open. There was like field behind, and there was a gap, and then it came, so the field wasn't covered, and then there's a walkway, and then it goes under coverage and goes all the way down. So I can't remember what the venue was, but I believe it was in Clark County, maybe.
Yeah. No, it was an outdoor place.
Yeah.
I didn't go to a concert I didn't go to a cool concert until I was 18, and I just graduated high school. Prior to that, I had seen a band I hope you've never heard of, but they were really big in the early 70s, called The Fifth Dimension. They did like pop songs, you know, but they were huge. And I went to that with my sister. And then I used to see whoever was playing at the auto show, because when I grew up, my father was an executive in the auto industry, and he was with Toyota. And that's back in the day. You could go to an auto show at the Coliseum. They were free to get in. Did we lose Josh?
Yeah,
Did I lose Josh?
We lost Zack.
I mean, Zack.
We lost
I
Zack.
swear by the end of this podcast on episode, what number is it? 50, what?
55.
I'll have your names right because I know all of you. It's like I've been watching you for days now.
Well, that's
All right.
was telling the most broed out like conversation
There we go.
ever. Like I started with a terrible motto for most people, you know, but no. Continue. What was life?
What was my topic? I've already lost it. What was I saying? Were you guys paying
You were-
attention?
Yeah, you were telling us about the first concert that you went to being Fifth Dimension.
Yeah. And my father was with Toyota, and they used to have the auto shows at the Memorial Coliseum, but it was a more elegant age. We're looking at like 1968 to like 1973. You got into the auto show free. There was always top name entertainment. I don't know if you ever saw Hee Haw when you wouldn't even see it in reruns. But a big country star guy by the name of Roy Clark, who was big in the 70s, he played. But you went and there were concerts. It was just, and you didn't pay for any, and plus you could not buy a car there. It was just simply come look at all the new cars. There was no sales pressure or anything. You just came and you looked and you left with a bunch of brochures. So yeah, my first real concert was 1976 Labor Day weekend in Seattle at the Kingdome. In this order, it was Stars, Rick Derringer, Jeff Beck, who just passed away yesterday, and Aerosmith, who happens to be my favorite band ever. So that was my welcome to rock concerts.
That is epic. Talking about Jeff Beck though, because I did not realize the significance of Jeff Beck until I was actually just going over his Wikipedia and kind of putting together. And I was looking at things like the Yardbirds. Now, can you tell me how impactful that group was? Because I didn't even know about them until I'm going through it. But it's a star-studded.
Well, for me, I personally, the Yardbirds were huge, and the Yardbirds were really a breeding ground. 3 huge guitarists all had stints in the Yardbirds, and then got even more famous afterwards. Jeff Beck was one of them. Jimmy Page was another, who went on to be in Led Zeppelin. They seem to have done pretty well. And Eric Clapton was a Yardbird for a while.
Yeah.
But I wasn't into them. I discovered Jeff Beck. I mean, I remember some of those singles probably from being a little kid, but I started playing guitar seriously when I was a senior in high school at Tigard High, class of 76. And there was a guy a year below me who was in my science class. And I mean, I was just a dork. I was in the CB radio club. One of my daytime activities, you know, that nerd, well, back when you used to bring audiovisual, you'd bring movie projectors and overhead projectors to various rooms.
Oh,
You know, when the teacher would reserve AV equipment, you had to bring it. Yeah, you get laid a lot when you're the AV guy. And, so I was just like, I was not cool. And I was basically not invisible, but I was voted at my high school reunion 10 years later as most changed. So, you know, but this guy was a year below me and he was already cool. He had long hair. He had a Les Paul. He had a Marshall. He was in a cool cover band. And he was also a really gifted guitarist, and not just in rock, but he was one of those guys that could sight read sheet music. He could play all the big boy chords, as I call them, like, you know, sight reading, like Steely Dan and the hard stuff. And he came up with the method on how to teach me how to play guitar, and kind of what started me. So, and then my first rock concert, that Aerosmith show in Seattle, I went with him. And like I say, he was 17, I was 18. He'd already been to like 20 concerts at the Coliseum because he was cool. I was not.
He's like,
back in the day, you'd walk in.
Sorry, I was gonna say everyone finds like a cool guru at some point in their journey, and he was that to you, but really that guy just kind of helped reveal the essence of like who you were. Because any guitarist that I've ever met is like a nerd about going into this realm of like feeling that music evokes, you know? That
Music evokes feeling. Music. You want to hear my take on music as a guy who played it for years on the radio and played it live and all that? I really get weary of music wars and of people attacking other people's musical tastes, like your music shit. That's not cool because all music, you hook up music to an oscilloscope, it looks exactly the same. What's different is how it makes you feel. Does it make you
What's
happy? Does it motivate you? Does it piss you off? Does it make you horny? Music affects all of us the same way. It's just not always the same music. But that's the magic of it. You can find music to make you cry. Just look for anything from the 90s. Did you see what I'm saying though? It's an emotional response and it's a memory trigger and it's a wonderful thing, but it doesn't have to be the same music for you as it was for me. It's a great community when it is, and then you can share it on that whole other level, like go to a concert together or whatever, back when those were affordable. But that's the power of music, but it's all the same. There's no reason to be snotty about it. You like what you like and
yeah. What's an oscilloscope?
oh, it's an electronic. You'd see one in a lab or in a sound. It's just that it looks like you ever had your heart hooked up to a machine? That's
Yeah.
like an oscilloscope for your heart. An oscilloscope for audio waves. The signal doesn't look really unsimilar, but you've seen graphics of
Yeah.
audio waves. It's just something
Yeah.
when you're just looking at it, or like the meters bouncing in a recording studio with the LEDs going up and down. It's all the same, because it's you're just getting there in different ways. But
All
that
right.
just hit me one day like a ton of crap, and I've kept that ever since.
No, man, that's super dope in a logical way of, putting something that's kind of intangible into words. So, but I have a question. What was so impactful that you were like, music is it for me? Like, I have to find my way into this industry. Was there ever any doubt? Or while you were pushing carts, were you really like, fuck yeah, I'm really about like AC/DC type shit?
Pushing carts, you mean like the job you're working that you didn't want to get the job that you want? You mean like all
Yeah.
the jobs you have in high school or whatever? Or
Well, you were talking about having to lug tech equipment around and stuff, like in the
yeah, well,
beginning when you were.
that was just a little assignment in high school. I mean, you just go down to the library and get the AV equipment and bring around. That wasn't even a paying gig. But
Mhm.
in high school, I did everything from deliver newspapers to bag groceries at Kino's grocery stores. Used to be a big chain in Portland years ago. Probably an old one in your neighborhood. It's rebranded. What else did I do? Line cook at a restaurant. Worked at several answering services like Where the Headset, Doctors Exchange. Yeah, I sold women's shoes. Not out of my car. It was at a mall.
Well, when did it hit you though? Like I'm going like rock and roll is my thing. Like you
I
started
think when I was about 10 years old, probably around 10, 12 years old, 10 years old, I first got my first record album when I was 10 years old. It wasn't like a Walt Disney record from a movie, but it was a music record. It was
yeah.
Steppenwolf II. There was a big hit on there called Magic Carpet Ride, which still gets played on
Mhm.
classic rock to this day. That was the first record I ever bought. Got it downtown to the old Meyer and Frank's on the 6th floor when they used to have records in there. It's now the Nines and the Nines Hotel. You know that old building in downtown Portland that used to be a
Yeah.
cool old school department store. I got it there, and even then I started listening to like top 40 radio, and I'd listen to what the DJs did, and I started writing down like we didn't have the internet, and you would set a cassette recorder next to your little AM radio just so you could record music and listen to your records too. But I would listen to what the DJs did, and I would write down the songs they were playing, and I'd make little charts and stuff like that. So, but I never really
Dude.
thought, just something that always interested me. I sort of fell into radio in college, and then boom, it just went amazingly from 1977 until I left broadcasting in 2001.
So how'd you get into it? Because I got into broadcasting thinking it was a degree I could bullshit my way through because I didn't really know what I wanted to do.
The degree is, I have a degree. I have a bachelor's of science degree from the University of Oregon in telecommunications with a minor in broadcast journalism. But I think the only reason that helped, I think college is all about opportunity and exposure and being an
Mhm.
intern. But here's how I got you want how I got my very first radio job? Because the first gig is always the hardest. You know, I don't care
Yeah.
what you do. The first one's the hardest to get. Then if you keep doing it and you're halfway good at it, sometimes you don't even have to be very good at it, but you'll get a second job doing that and a third job or whatever. It was fall term 1977, University of Oregon. I was in a class, like a lecture, um, in the good old hall. Anybody here seen Animal House?
Mm-hmm.
You know the scene where the fraternities they're having a hearing to get kicked off campus, and it's like a stepped classroom. That was my classroom. We had to meet somewhere else that day because they were filming Animal House in there. 110 Fenton,
Oh,
that was my
shit.
classroom. And I had a classmate who I would make small talk with, a guy who I believe was probably about a year younger than me. I'm probably 19 at the time, so he would have been 18. He had already worked in radio for 2 or 3 years, like since his teen years in his hometown of Tillamook.
Whoa.
And so we make friends, and he's already got connections and done a couple shifts at the campus radio station. It wasn't a cool campus station. It was an NPR affiliate with lots of jazz and classical programming. And one night a week, though, they had a 2-hour block that they would let a student do where you could play whatever the hell you wanted. The station was KWAX, so it was Quacks 2. And so I went in there, and this guy told me who to go talk to, and I went in there, and I bombed my classical music composer pronunciation test, but they liked me anyway, and so I got a job where I'd pedal my bike across campus and fire up this 20,000 watt FM radio station at 6 o'clock in the morning, and go up to the third floor in this old building and fire up this radio station, and I would just join the network, like NPR, the show All Things Considered, and NPR's Morning News. I think those shows are still around to this day, I believe. You'd had to join the network, and then you'd play local music and read your messages from your underwriters. But so that was how I got my first job. And then from there, I landed an internship in commercial radio, working for free. But then that turned into a part-time job and a full-time job. But that friend of mine who led me to my first job in radio ended up dropping out of college and winning Peabody Awards and whatever other cool awards you win, and still hosts a talk show to this day under the name of Lars Larson.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That is pretty
so
crazy.
I was the best man in his wedding in Las Vegas many years ago. I've known Lars since I was a kid.
Wow.
That's way cool. And it's kind of a small world because when we were in not high school, when we were in college, there was a Lars Larson like broadcast scholarship. And that was like the thing that anyone in the broadcast department like wanted. That was
Well, if it wasn't for Lars, I wouldn't know you.
Mm-hmm.
Because he was my hookup at your place of employment, and he set up. I don't know if you're used to seeing people come in and say, "I'll take that, and that. Thank you." And then Kemper helps you carry your shit to the car. And
well,
That's pretty awesome.
That's a very unique situation because I could tell that you were a genuine person off the rip. Just because I was like, for someone to have that level of reverence where they're like, put it on my tab, you know? That
Hang on a second. I got to go to the Urban Youth Translator. What'd you say? Off the rip?
Yeah.
I haven't heard that one.
I knew right away. You know? I knew right away that it was going to be like, these are a couple genuine people right here. Because you don't get that level of like class and friendship without like respect and reverence and love and all that other stuff, you know? And it was interesting just because, you don't see that every day. I don't know, maybe that happened in like the 60s and shit when someone would be like, hey, my friend's going to come in and like,
he is a super generous dude and always has been. I always joke that when we were kids, when I say college age kids, Lars would help you move. Now, Lars wouldn't help you move, but he'd probably just pay for it. What are you gonna do? Come lift your boxes? No. But then I started an internship, and then I did a bunch of radio in Eugene, where I went to college, and ended up in Portland and San Francisco and Sacramento and I had a great run. I've gotten in more trouble, lost more brain cells, and made more friends than you can imagine. Did that
Okay.
till 2001 when I left that, and I spent the next 12 and a half, 13 years as a 911 dispatcher.
Whoa.
And then, yeah, I know you get that a lot when you're a 911 dispatcher. And then right after my father died, some divine force intervened and said, Bill, you need a break from this shit. Then a radio station I hadn't worked for years called me and said, hey, would you like to come to work? It was the same day we had buried my father. Or I came home after all of it. That first time when your first day to like, okay, I don't have to think about anything. I can start my grieving, my decompression and all that. And boom, I get a call from KGON. It's like, hey, we're looking at, we'd sure like to have you back. And then I ended up going back to KGON for 3 years. And then it fell apart because it's radio, it does. Then I went back to the same 911 center that hired me before. So, and now I'm retired. So I have time to talk to you guys.
That is crazy.
Like have a blast.
With my dad passing, I had like a huge burst of clarity. And I feel like a lot of things in my life since then have kind of gone many which ways, but all are falling together in like these realizations of like I'm on the right path and I'm doing the right thing. But I don't want to gloss over your 80s parties because I'm like, you can't just tell me that you've had these incredible experiences without giving us some dabblings of what the late 70s, early 80s.
For me, it really got good. I mean, I was having fun the whole time, but it got good around 1982, 83 when I first got a job at a dream radio station in California. Went down there. Then it was like, oh yeah. And then when you're the music director of your radio station, and this is the 80s, well-funded record promoters have no problem. Hey, Bill, you want to hear the new Bon Jovi record? I do. Then they'd fly you to LA and they'd have a party for the new Bon Jovi record on the top floor of the Sunset Riot House Hotel. And that was the norm. They record companies are pretty much gone now, but back then they spent like drunken soldiers on shore leave, and it was fun. Hey, the new Motley Crue album's out. It's called Girls, Girls, Girls. Why? Because it's about a strip club, and that's where they had it. And so I went to that. That's where I got to meet. There are a lot of celebrities, but I'm afraid that they're going to be like telling you I knew Thomas Jefferson.
No,
I knew that woman that sewed the American flag. We were tight.
no, you got to name drop because really we need to give these people the praise because when I look back, like what's so hard for me to conceptualize about music, the first time anyone heard or just like whatever it is, like there's so many countless things.
Okay. Here's the fun one that combines me broadcasting a pretty famous band, if you consider the Rolling Stones pretty famous. And this is Ron Wood, one of the guitar players in the Rolling, and we're playing a game of who's drunker. That's me. That's probably around 1986, 1987. And that's Ron Wood. He's at a book signing he's a really talented painter too. And he had a book signing out and, and somebody had that framed and sent it to me. It's like, we were drinking whiskey before dark. I'm pretty sure that's not good.
Well, it's a recipe for something.
Drinking. Didn't somebody in this group here just turn 21?
Oh, that's me. That's me tomorrow.
Oh, it's tomorrow. Oh, cool.
Yes,
Happy birthday tomorrow.
Thank you. I was
wondering
much.
what's in your glass. It looks like Fiji water.
No, it's just me and Zack. We have this.
Oh, the ice beverage. I love that stuff.
Yeah. Oh, it's the best.
Love it.
Well, at midnight you can find out how good it is with vodka. Vodka is like the tofu of liquors. Everything. It works with everything. But I don't want to be a bad influence.
Oh, that's
fine.
Bro.
There's a time and a place for everything. Part of it is learning like balance. But the strange thing is, especially when we're talking art, it kind of comes out of like extreme like emotions and
Right.
erratic experiences or like divine experiences of life where it's like you just realize some shit. At least it seems like it to me. I don't know enough about like songs other than I believe that song Brandy, you know, that old one.
Looking Glass, 1971.
Yeah.
Give me
I
another
think
one.
they I think they took a long time to write that song. I was listening to an interview on KGON one time, and the dude was like, "Yeah, that took me forever to write that song, but another song came to me in like 5 minutes, and we just recorded it." He was like, "I don't know why some songs are different than others."
Remembers an 80s hair metal band called Warrant.
I do.
No.
You do not.
I'd have to ask my
Yeah,
dad about that
they
one.
have one song. Okay, so
Cherry Pie.
yep,
This
they
is
have
me
one
playing on
song.
stage with Warrant.
What?
Yeah.
That's sick.
I
That's
know.
wicked.
That's like 1980. That's 1990, maybe 89, 90, something like that. Oh, there's another one from the same concert, different action shot. Yeah.
Boom.
Dude,
Man.
Huh?
all right. So you definitely got laid that night for sure.
Somebody.
Undeniably.
Well, I don't know if I even want to admit to that because apparently last week, or maybe I can't remember. It was last. Maybe it was last week. I saw last week's episode of Happy Hoodlums, and I kind of looked at some other ones, but I think this guy over there, Josh guy, had something about we're all losers. We're not getting laid or something. Does anybody remember that?
Yeah.
I
Yep.
definitely
Am I wrong?
remember
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
No, he
all right.
definitely said that.
Well,
Uh-huh.
nobody else confirmed or denied it. I had a couple of notes I was going to ask you guys about before we get back to me. I was concerned with the phrase. I believe this was Kemper who said, "It's 50 cent, fuckface." Is that you?
What?
It
It's
sounds
50
like
cent, fuckface. You remember that?
Oh yeah.
And then you immediately apologized for being aggressive, which I thought was really nice because that's something men my age wouldn't have done in their 20s. Was I was a little aggressive. I'm sorry. So we really have gotten better.
You know, every now and again, it's just my guilt gets to me quicker. You know, the older I get, it's like I may snap, but then that guilt factor sets in just a little too quick sometimes, and I'm like,
The context,
no.
but it's just like I'm going to get that on a shirt. It's 50 cent, fuckface. Wait, I'm almost 65 years old. I should say it's 50 cent, fuckface.
Yes.
There you go.
Dude,
Yeah.
you don't understand how heartfelt this is because when I was in 5th grade, I was dating this chick named Kendra. Shout out to
Right.
Kendra. All right.
Shout
And
out.
she gave me a little 50-cent chain that spun in the center. And it said 50
Oh.
cent. If you hit it, it spun.
It's 50
And
cent.
I felt like the coolest person ever. And so I was like, 50 cent. Let's go.
Go, Shorty. Hey,
It's your
tomorrow you
birthday.
can play that song because you could party like it's your birthday. But see, even that's like ancient now. That
It is
song's
pretty
20
old,
years
yeah.
old. Yeah.
I know. Nostalgia. Well, what do you think about music today and culture? How it shifted once rap really took over?
I think my only and it's just a technique is different. Getting back to regardless of if it's rap or hip hop or rock, the computer has really taken over in the recording studio, and sadly, in live situations, that's my biggest problem. I don't care if you're a Billie Eilish or a Billy Idol. I don't need you lip syncing at a concert that I paid good money for, and that's really a thing these days. A lot
Mm-hmm.
of artists, and like I referred to earlier, concert tickets have never been more expensive. And I know a lot of them do it because they want to have a really nice production, and it's got to be dazzling. And thanks to the state of the art of the computer, you know, in the 70s, all those lights at those concerts were being run manually by guys with levers with various presets on them. Now with the computer, you can have 8,000 lights. Any concert you go to is visually dazzling now. It doesn't matter if it's country or pop or rock or whatever. But and you can do that without computers. But artists are also using backtracks and fake tracks and click tracks, and a little mechanical for me, but like the auto tune. That was a good idea for like a week. You know, but once Cher was doing the in life, then it's like next. So, you know, I'd rather hear somebody hit a wrong note once in a while or be a little off pitch, you know, have a little soul. But I listen to some new music, but right now, since I bought myself a new music streamer for my home theater system, I'm just going over all sorts of stuff I don't usually listen to, like jazz. Like I don't know if Kemper shared this with you guys, but I was talking about an early impression of your podcast, and he got the reference, which I was really impressed with, or at least he acted like he did. I said, "Your guys' show reminds me of like listening to Miles Davis." It's intriguing, and you don't know where it's going, but you can't stop looking or listening. And so that's actually really cool, which is why I like you guys, because it's like,
I
where's this
appreciate
going?
that. Thank you.
Well, you didn't give me any show notes or anything. Of course, I don't need show notes. I'm a guest, so I don't know how much, how much of this is riff versus you got. I see one of you with at least a notepad and a pen ready to strike.
I write stuff down occasionally, just in
Sure.
case we get to a low moment where something needs to be brought up.
See, that's brilliant. That's a good idea. You have notes. And in doing morning radio for years in Portland and elsewhere, I used to go with a lot of show prep, but I would always throw it out the window in favor of improvisation, of riffing. But that way you had it to fall back on if for some reason you ended up a moment of where you were uninspired. Luckily, I had very few of those days where I felt uninspired. So
you want to know what's crazy? I actually have on my notes tips for like running a show in like a smooth way or an entertaining way, and you kind of just got to it. Just basically, we just keep doing what we're doing. It's already entertaining.
That was a professional shot. I was like,
okay,
you guys, I still have a bunch of these 5x7 cards. If you guys want them, I still got.
Dude,
if you autograph it.
What's funny is we're talking about technology. On my wrist is a watch. It was a Seiko Receptor watch. It was it receives pages. But you'd have to call the phone number for the watch and type in your phone number, and then I would get a message on my wrist. That was a pager. It was you couldn't do text messages. It was just like, here's the phone number. And that's like early 90s. That was mid 90s, and that was an advanced technology. I had my first cell phone, though, in 1986, because I am seriously addicted to tech, so I buy it way too early. My first cell phone weighed like 6 pounds and cost $2,000, but I had to have it.
Geez.
Yeah.
Did you have laser discs?
Yes, I did.
Well,
yeah,
laser discs were the huge ones, right?
Well, they were the same size as a record album.
Okay.
And a lot of people don't realize that laser discs are actually analog. They're not digital.
Really?
I know. I'm just messing with your head right now because you're looking at that shiny platter going, yeah, it's not on it. And I had them, but then I got DVD and then I got Blu-ray and 4K. I spend a lot of time in my home theater just because it's also where my stereo is. It's the same system. So, yeah, tech good. Oh, here's a fun one. This is from the old days. I used to be on like a whole bunch of TriMet buses all at the same time.
Hey,
look at that
there
face.
you go.
Which one to punch that face or anybody here play GTA 5?
Yes.
Yeah.
Your dog face looks like it needs to get hit. I play a lot of it. You know that
I'm
one?
gonna deliver one of these right to your suck hole.
Well, Zack used to actually like run a server thing, right?
Well, I used to play GTA RP, which is like a modded version of GTA 5. And I still do. And right now I'm working on a server with a bunch of people who are also like building it and shit. And it's a blast. It's basically what GTA Online is, but you get to like create your own story with other people who are creating their own stories. It's really
you have to
cool.
play it on a computer. Can you play it? It doesn't work on your PlayStation, does it? Or
No,
Nope.
it's computer only.
I had a feeling. Yeah, that sounds way too cool to stick into a PlayStation.
Yeah.
So you play
Well, talk your
PlayStation?
shit, Zach. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I really just play GTA 5, and I play
Okay.
it with a couple of my friends, and I have that, I'm on there every day, but usually for
Yeah.
like an hour because I have short attention span. So it's like I don't want to be that guy that can play 10 or 12 hours a day on video games.
That's smart.
Because it's not hard to do that, and you probably all had a
No.
phase in your lives where you're spending too much time in front of your computer or your TV. But I managed. In fact, it was my birthday just this last April. I managed to figure out that GameStop had some. They were going to have a stash. I decided I wanted a new one, and I was going to get my buddies because we all played it. One of them had already disconnected his PS4 or whatever, but we ended up all getting them. All three of us ended up getting them the same day. And then we took them home on my birthday and set them up. I have some other games on there, but I'm really usually just a one game kind of guy, other than stupid games like trivia, stuff like that. But as far as like a real video game, I like GTA 5.
Okay. So, like, when you first got into radio, how long did it take you before they kind of eased up and let you do what you wanted? Or were you kind of in a corner in the beginning where you could get creative with
First
it?
of all, you got to find your own voice. And yeah, you definitely take direction, especially from the guy that gave me my first break in commercial radio. And it was a top 40 station, jingles and talking over the songs and all that stuff. And I was terrible. Basically, you get into radio and you spend whatever amount of time it is for you to get into radio, so you end up sounding exactly like you do on the radio as you do off. Because your first inclination is to suck it up. You're going to get amped. You're going to get excited. You're going to try to think you're going to talk soft and deep. And hey, baby, how you doing? This is soft rock, yacht rock. And here comes Chris Cross. And up next, Rupert Holmes, the Pina Colada song. Yeah. Before that, Ambrosia. And you're the only woman to me. I could keep going. But you spend a lot of time just to get comfortable in yourself. So there wasn't like a certain day where that happened. Although I do remember I was early on in my career doing morning drive at KUFO, and my show had gone off the rails a little bit. I was still doing the show just by myself, and I had a woman up in the air doing traffic. The show grew but towards the last year, the Bill Prescott show. There were 5 people on there. But one day the boss came aside, and because I'd been doing a lot of, I didn't really have the focus that I needed, and my breaks were too long. And they go, we're going to limit you to 3 2-minute segments per hour, because it was still a music show with a weird DJ in between. It's kind of the model for the day. And so I said, okay. So I had my stopwatch. I mean, I was 2 minutes, but I spent the entire 2 minutes berating radio station management. The entire time, saying what a bunch of crap it was. 3 times an hour. That only lasted one day. Then when they called me in again and said, well, we might have overstepped a little bit. And they redacted the redaction. And that's when I knew, all right, I know who's flying the boat. You don't fly boats. I knew who was in charge. I'd gotten to that place where I wanted to be, where I was no longer being screwed with, if that's kind of what you were asking.
Yeah.
And the show was #1 for 7 years. I got replaced by Howard Stern, but that's only because the company that would become CBS had bought Howard Stern, and they wanted him in all their radio stations. This is well before Sirius XM, when he was, so every rock station they bought, they were putting him on. It didn't matter how good or bad the show was already. They just made a major investment in Howard Stern. So of course you're going to put him on all your radio stations, otherwise nobody's going to hear him.
Yeah. So I have a question. Can you give us a walkthrough like music history and what you think the most influential bands are that kind of steered culture in your life, at least? Because I know everyone listens to different things. So rather than saying
and the good and the hard part, the good part and the bad part of that question is there's so many.
I know.
And when you get back into steering culture and making a difference, a lot of times I think a lot of those images and the placements of some of those artists are really looked at more through some sort of historical fondness. I don't know if in all cases their presence at the time was as profound as it's remembered. Does that make sense? You can remember, you can reminisce, you can it's not like you're accenting history or, or misremembering it, but especially something as powerful as music and nostalgia. And we mentioned before, everybody's got a song that takes you to a place or a time, a good memory, a sad one, all of them. We've got music for all of that. So, I mean, there are some things that truly transcended, like one of the legendary ones. I was a very small kid. I don't even remember. I remember seeing the Ed Sullivan Show. I don't remember the day the Beatles were on, but that was, 60 million people in America who got 3 broadcast channels on their black and white TVs with antennas sticking out of them, and clambered around to watch the Beatles. But think of something like Woodstock 1969, right? Jimi Hendrix, The Who. I mean, a legendary concert, changed music forever. It was really just a 3-day drugged out, drunken, disgusting shit show is what it was. It's remembered as this fun, wonderful thing. But even Jeff Beck was scheduled to be at Woodstock, and like a day before, he just started hearing about how it was, and he canceled. I'm not going to go, and it was. I mean, yeah. I mean, it's definitely it's well chronicled, and it was definitely an event. But I think a lot of people think, oh, that was so great. They weren't there. It was just a big concert that went poorly. They had to change locations with a few days to spare, and they ran out of supplies. They weren't having the riots and the stuff like that came, like the Woodstock 25. Was that the one that they burned down with Limp Bizkit and all that? I can't remember. One of those retro festivals. But so Woodstock 69 was probably a little more civilized. I think there was more children being conceived than there was, stabbings. That was a thing in Altamont, which that, summer of 69, that one summer started with Woodstock, ended with Altamont. That was the one in the Bay Area where the Rolling Stones hired Hell's Angels as security, and they beat a guy to death in the pool cue. That was how dark that one summer had gone. But even then, I was alive then. But yeah, I was 11, and I didn't have a cool dad taking me to concerts at 5 years old. They weren't even around. It wasn't a thing. It wasn't even something I knew about that I wanted to go to.
Dude, I can tell you right now, one of my earliest memories was at PGE Park, and I was standing. I think Brian Adams was opening for Def Leppard, and I'd never seen more mullets in one place in my life. And I just remember the tops of mullets looking like this, right? And just beer.
The Pyromania tour, 1983.
I don't know, man. I was there though, so they were probably playing the Pyromania album or something. But they were just spilling beer on me left and right, and I was trying to see, and like my dad's right here, and I'm kind of like looking over the top of them, just getting beer splashed on me. And it's like,
well, speaking of
really
dad,
cool.
mine came to bug me real quick.
Right on.
He wanted to say hi, and he has one question.
Hey.
Okay.
Could introduce
this is a
your dad by
first
name.
This is Perry.
Oh,
Perry.
Yo.
How you doing, Perry?
Good. You went
I'm
to
Bill. I trust
Woodstock?
you know Josh.
Yeah, I know all of them. I just never came up, and it's my kid's last night to be a minor.
Yeah.
So
Where are you? What city are you guys in? You're not in Oregon, are you?
no, we're in Biloxi.
Biloxi,
Mississippi.
Mississippi.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, right on the coast.
My sister lived there for a couple of years when my brother-in-law was in the Air Force. There's a big base down there, right?
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, they
Whoa.
lived there.
Did
Early
they hate
70s.
it? Love it?
They was their first home. They just gotten married. He joined the Air Force out of high school, and so it was their first little home, and she just went down and kept home. They had a trailer, and he did his 4 years to get his GI Bill and stuff. So, I think she was just so happy to be married with her new husband, and they actually went a few years before they had kids. So, they were just all about. So I think they liked it. I don't think she cares. She was just being a homemaker.
Yeah,
What?
Yeah, I've kind of lived several places: California, Oregon, Nevada, Utah, South Carolina. Anyway, A few. Am I not supposed
Perry,
to say
did,
any? I've never been on here.
did you listen? Did you listen to KGON when you were younger, or like,
KGON.
yeah,
No.
you weren't
California?
listening to the radio and hearing Bill
Radio.
Prescott?
Oh, I listen. Oh, is that? No, I've heard him quite a few times. Yeah.
Might have been.
Okay.
I was on KUFO a whole lot more than I was at KGON.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
couldn't tell you stations. But yeah.
But I was at
I've
KGON 3 times in the past 30 years. So I even was there just a few years before I met you. When I'd left 911 for a while, and I went back to KGON for 3 years, and then
Mhm.
I listened to some. I can't think where. What? Am I not? You
I'm
were
sure it was
playing
really
gu-
funny, huh? Provocative,
playing-
informed, witty, sassy,
You're playing
sarcastic.
the guitar. Don't you?
Oh yeah. I did that a lot too.
Yeah.
I'll find
yeah,
more of
that-
those.
yeah. See, I do know who he is. That's right.
Yeah.
Here I am. Okay,
Oh, yeah.
this is from Soundcheck. Here I am playing a guitar. I'm playing the black guitar. On the other guitar is a guy by the name of Slash. From
What?
That's
Guns
so
N' Roses.
dope.
That is
Slash.
ill, bro.
I tend to do that now when everybody goes, "What?" I always just tend to immediately repeat myself just to be a dick. Yeah, that was cool. What? I had a KUFO sticker on the bottom of my guitar. I cut the letters backwards so it said, "Oh fuck." Downstairs at Mahonia Hall, which is in Oregon, where the governor lives,
Yeah.
at the inauguration for John Kitzhaber, first time around. Who likes my shirt?
Nice.
I can't see it, but
He's drinking
That's
a
that's
little
okay.
awesome.
Don't
off
wait.
the camera. Who
Did-
asked? Kemper, did you ask me about leather pants?
Yes, I asked if you
Here's
had
the
leather
pants
pants.
picture. Here's the leather pants picture. It's a little grainy. Like I say, I'm just holding up old pictures.
Oh,
One
what?
time for the history books, baby.
There it
That's how
is.
you
Leather-
know you came and you
All
lived
these
and you
pictures are on
conquered.
Facebook. I know maybe you guys don't do Facebook anymore, but they're all on Facebook.
What band is that?
That was my friend Craig Chiquiso, who used to be in Jefferson Starship, and he had left Starship and started a rock band by the name of Big Bad Wolf. They released one record, didn't really go anywhere, but that was Craig.
Jefferson Starship. These young lads don't know.
Yeah, they're Craig's still a friend of mine to this day. That was a concert in Oakland at a club down there. But I believe I flew down for it because I think I already moved up here.
That's awesome.
Crazy shit.
No, you are.
Never saw them, but
No, because like just thinking back on it, it's like what your walk through the
I
80s
look
into the
badass there,
90s.
don't I? Don't I look badass
Like-
there?
Yeah, you do.
You got to
I look
scoot it over
mad.
just a little bit for me.
Sorry.
Scoot it closer to the microphone. There we go. Oh, hell yeah. You got
Here's
the, like,
one I
red
was
there.
and this is my "It's okay to smoke cigarettes, kids" poster because I had a cigarette there. Picture.
You got to scoot
The
it
old
just a
days
little
when you
bit.
could smoke indoors.
yeah.
It's all right. They're all online.
And you drove with
I'll
your
make a
parents
reel
and
for
the,
Kemper.
and you
So,
drove in the parents.
Once you
Go ahead.
no, continue, Perry. You're good.
I was gonna say smoking. Yeah, that's back in the day when your parents drove you around in the car smoking with the windows up. You guys,
We didn't
would
have
know
seat
about
belts.
that. We didn't know why.
Yeah, they didn't have them.
Nope.
No seat
Yeah,
belt. They
but-
just kind of fluffed around the back.
But honestly, it's not like nobody thought of that shit. You know what I mean? Like, you can't just be smoking in your car. Just be like, there isn't smoking here. Like, it doesn't. You can't tell me that didn't compute for like everybody. Some people just smoked in their cars, and it was a different time. Like, the stupid shit was smoking on airplanes, because it's like, how are you
Yeah,
gonna
I
have a
used to do that too.
non?
I used to. Yeah.
They
What
had the
a ridiculous
non-smoking section.
invisible wall that separates you from the
Yeah, I remember
smokers.
that.
Yeah, but I was that I was that guy that lit up on planes as soon as you could. I did it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you had to sit in the back.
Oh yeah. I think there still should be the party plane and the non-party plane. I think if you have your kids and shit, you can go on the
I
party
like to
plane.
go on your plane because I know which
Yeah,
plane you're gonna have.
yeah. If you got nothing to lose, let's go to like Aruba or some shit. Okay, all the flights to dope ass exotic places. That's what we're doing.
Hell
Dope
yeah.
ass. I know that one.
Dope ass.
The dope ass mountains.
Well, I'm gonna go.
And in fairness, I already knew fuckface from. I already knew that one. So
Yeah, that's a
Didn't you
different
play?
face of
Oh,
the mountain.
I talked.
what's that, Perry?
But just one last question, then I'm gonna go to bed. It's a lot later here, Zach. Zach,
Oh yeah.
it's a lot later here.
Yeah, we know.
What didn't you play with somebody in a band?
Well, I had my own band but I also I would guest. Well, like I was playing with Slash's band that night. He had left Guns N' Roses and was doing a tour, so I'd get up a lot and play. But I had a band called Bill Prescott's Chode, and it was a cover band. But because the radio show was popular, it was a cover band that could play for like 10, 15,000 people sometimes. It was part of the festival.
That's
like this
sick.
picture's. Ooh, here's a cool. This is one of my favorite pictures of me ever.
Okay.
That's
The
me and my.
so
Check out that badass guitar, two
What?
necks.
There you go.
the
That's
level
gnarly.
of badassery that you have just to name your band Bill Prescott's Chode is
And
phenomenal.
we had to start doing promotions, and the promotion director wanted a name, so I really never have liked it. So Dave Grohl and I have that in common because he hates the name Foo Fighters. He just picked and went with it, and now he's stuck with it. This was cool because this was on stage at the Moda at the Rose Garden, opening for
That's
Queensryche,
dope.
who was a
Push
cool
it just
rock
a
band
little
of the
bit
day.
over.
Well, here's another one from the same thing. But I used to have really good hair. Well, actually, it wasn't. I had to have a lot of people do a lot of things to it. It didn't want to be awesome on its own.
But that's freaking like the balls you had to do that. It's so rock and roll to the core.
Well, I mean, everybody likes it. It was just because I am a really, really good guitar player, but I do not have the gift of songwriting. I don't have that gene. You know, you can put on. So cover band was perfect for me because I could put on a Van Halen record, Aerosmith record, whatever. I'll play it for you. Because I just didn't have the right. And some people are songwriters and music and instrument players. Some do both. But I always figured, like, I wonder if I put this band together and promoted it correctly, if anybody would come. And we used our first gig, and we're not a headliner. The thing is to put ourselves at a show in a cool venue, opening for somebody, somebody touring with a record deal. And we did that. That's how we did the Moda Center. We would play Rockfest, Kevo Rockfest. We play like out there at like the Timber Bowl Estacada. You ever been out there? They have concerts there and stuff.
So if you were starting over again and you were trying to like launch someone else, or launch yourself and your band, how would you do it? Would you do it the same way? Would you do it
Oh
different?
God,
Or
no! I
in
would
the
never recommend anybody go to radio now. Radio is not nearly as awesome as it used to be. It doesn't nearly have the amount of opportunities. Ever since the 90s, when they changed the regulations for radio station ownership, all of a sudden you could own, instead of owning a total of 7 radio stations, any company, big or small, you could own 7 AMs, 7 FMs, and 7 TV stations. Didn't matter if you were some rich guy who had a dairy farm and used the money to buy a radio station, or if you're CBS. 7, 7, and 7. That was it. But after the deregulation, all of a sudden companies could get bigger and bigger and buy up dozens and dozens and hundreds of radio stations. Before you knew it, one company owned several hundred radio stations. And also before you knew it, you'd walk in. It really hit me in the early 2000s. I'd already started working as a 911 dispatcher, but I had a couple fill-in shifts. I said I would do a KGON. Walking in there on a weekend, there are 6 radio stations in that building. And at that time, only 2 of them actually had people. They were all being run by machines. And it's that way in most of the world now with radio. There's just not the opportunities. And even if you're hearing a live
Mhm.
guy, odds are he's doing the show from Seattle and he's also on the station there. When I started, there was small town radio. Every small town had a radio station. Even a city like Eugene, that's where I started. There were dozens of stations there, maybe a dozen, but they all had people.
Mhm.
There was places to go, and you could get the graveyard, you could get the all night weekend shift and suck and find your voice, and that's where you learned it. They were like electronic sandboxes, and then if you got good, you stuck with it. But those
So,
opportunities. This is the opportunity now, just like here and what you guys are starting to do here, which is the other reason I wanted to do this. I want to do it because you invited me, but this YouTube thing. This is it. I mean, this is an equal playing field. You guys, what you're doing, don't have any more or less opportunity than Justin Bieber did when he started singing. I think, didn't he go? And you get what I'm saying. It's like it's a level
Mhm.
playing field.
Yeah.
We can all get a show. We can all get airtime. It's what you do with it, and if you can make it grow. So on that, looking at it like that, I think it's cooler. But the downside of that is there's a lot more competition. In fact, the best and the worst thing about the music industry right now, the best thing is anybody can make an album and get it to you. But the worst thing is
Mhm.
anybody can make an album and get it to you.
Yeah.
You kind of
Yeah.
need a filter at that point. There's just so much music out there. I mean, it's a good problem to have, but that's why artists don't make money on record sales anymore. It used to be you would tour to support an album. Now you make an album to support a tour. Hopefully somebody will buy it. You just want people maintaining interest in you. And most of the classic rock bands that are out touring today have few or no original members, but they have
Mhm.
rights to the names. So you can go to a
That
casino and what?
that's a fascinating switch. Like when you're talking about how the paradigm kind of changed, because I
Well, yeah,
never
because
really
nobody
thought of it.
buys records anymore. Apparently, unless Taylor Swift, did you guys all get your Taylor Swift tickets?
Oh yeah.
Nope.
Got mine last week.
They
Yeah,
were
boy.
like crazy sold out.
Well, but the point being is, for some reason, she still sells physical copies. But even buying a
Mhm.
download, I mean, even buying a digital, the realm, there's no incentive to. I mean, I subscribe to Apple Music, and I'm also using a service called Qobuz because they
Mhm.
deliver nice high resolution files, 24-bit, higher bit depth, higher sample rate. Um, Sounds really good, and a good fast internet connection, and there's the whole musical world. So it's easy. You don't have the same experience that in the old days. You'd buy the new Aerosmith album, you sit down and you play it one side at a time, and you'd roll a joint on the album cover.
Mhm.
You know, I never got very
Was
good at
that
rolling,
like was
so I just
was
went right
that
to
like
cocaine.
p-
I'm sorry, what?
yeah, I was gonna say that's like one of the rituals when you get the album.
Um, yeah, a lot of people you could plus a record album you could hold. It was big enough you could read stuff on it. I can't read CD liner notes now if you even have a CD, and it's not just my eyes. The print is really really tiny. But yeah,
Mhm.
nobody buys. The record industry is a shadow of its former self because for the most part nobody buys it, and the revenue from streaming is next to nothing. So where do they make money? Touring and merchandise. And that's why concert tickets have gotten so expensive. Not because they're more expensive to produce, because they are, but because that's where the money is. And you know where the real golden ticket is for these rock stars is if you're big enough, and they all are, because they just vary the price, the backstage meet and greets. You didn't used to be able to
Mhm.
buy those. Meet and greets were for guys like me, industry people. If anybody from the public got in, they might have been a couple of contest winners that got to go with Bill Prescott to meet Foreigner or whatever. But
Mhm.
now they some of these artists, like a guy doing a club band, might charge $40 for a meet and greet, where you get a picture with that's kind of reasonable. But you can buy a Kiss meet and greet or something like that. You can pay $1,000 for a privilege to go back and stand with somebody for 5 seconds. And those got really sad once they started touring again after COVID, because then you really couldn't even stand next to the person. You're paying all this money to make it look like you were best friends for 5 seconds, because now they would
Yeah.
send you a curtain or like have a big plexiglass shield and all that. So that's where the bands make their money. And then buying your T-shirt either online or out there at the concert. That's where the money is. So that is why even tickets to crappy concerts are over $100 now for the most part.
What? That's crazy.
Do you have a favorite guitar?
Mm, a
Like
few.
style.
I'm a big fan of like the Fender Stratocaster. In fact, I have 2 Jeff Beck Fender Stratocasters. I like Gibson Les Pauls. Nothing unusual. I buy and sell. I've got some vintage pieces and some new stuff, and it's
So Jeff Beck was a huge part of your life, like inadvertently.
um, or maybe it was meant to be. I mean, the
Yeah.
point being is Jeff Beck, the guy that was my first guitar teacher, the high school guy, he was playing a couple Jeff Beck songs in his band. So that's how I go, oh, that's a good. The first Jeff Beck song that I ever got turned on to is actually the slow ballad called "'Cause We Ended as Lovers." It's from his Blow by Blow album. It's a beautiful instrumental. And I didn't know till years later that it was written by Stevie Wonder.
What?
What?
It was written by Stevie Wonder. Yeah, he wrote it for
That
Jeff.
is
Time.
crazy.
Now you know the Stevie Wonder song "Superstition." Daddy's
Mhm.
superstitious. That intro starts with a drum beat. Just
Mhm.
that was Jeff Beck. Kid you not?
Of
Jeff Beck
course.
gave that idea to Stevie
What?
Wonder. So Jeff came up with "Superstition." He was part of the writing process. So then Stevie gave Jeff the other song that he put on his album. So
See, that kind of stuff is the gold of culture that like I don't think got passed down through the generations. You know?
well, and Jeff Beck in particular, or even a guy. Have any of you guys heard of a guitarist by the name of Joe Bonamassa?
Mm-mm.
I don't think so.
Yeah, he's a guitar player's guitar player. He sells out. I mean, he plays mid-sized halls like in Portland, like your Schnitzer. You know, he's not a Coliseum or a Moda selling act, but there's good money to be made anytime you can rent a hall and fill it. That's always better than having a bigger hall and empty seats because that's lost revenue. But Joe Bonamassa is a guitar player's guitar player, and that's what I said about Jeff Beck yesterday when he passed. I got on social media and I said, for guitar players everywhere, this is the day the music died. I was referring to Don McLean's American Pie, Bye Bye
Mhm.
American Pie. That was the day the music died because Jeff Beck, he was every guitar player's of any stature, their guitarist. It's like
Mhm.
he humbled all of us with his techniques and his style. It's just unparalleled. Nobody's done it like him. Nobody did it like him. It's just,
Y-
it's awesome.
Yeah, I was reading his Wikipedia page, and literally it said that Pink Floyd was gonna ask him to replace Sid Barrett, but they didn't have the nerve. And I'm like,
Well,
that
and back
is
then,
the highest
Jeff,
compliment.
well, and Jeff was even early on. He was just he just followed his own thing. I mean, like I said, not going to Woodstock like the day before. Or apparently when the Yardbirds were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Jeff was there and he was doing an acceptance, and I believe he said, I don't know the exact quote, but it was something effective. Well, they fired me, so fuck them. That's the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and that made me happy because I'm sure they did.
Mm-hmm.
But Jeff would steer a new course. He'd hire a new band. I mean, his last band, you know who his singer was in his last band? Right? Johnny Depp.
That's sick.
What?
Yeah.
I didn't know
Johnny
Johnny
Depp.
Depp sang.
The last album they made.
Oh, yeah.
Johnny Depp is a great singer, and Johnny Depp is a hell of a guitar player.
Mm-hmm.
Johnny Depp also plays with Alice Cooper and Joe Perry from Aerosmith in a band called the Hollywood Vampires. They're
That's
pretty cool.
nuts.
Is that his
That's pretty
band he's got going on right now?
Who, Johnny?
No. Yeah.
Yeah, I know that the Hollywood Vampires have some dates, I think, in Europe coming up. And Johnny had been out on the road doing dates with Jeff Beck because the last Jeff Beck album is called 18, and it's in stores now online. And it's and Jeff Beck Johnny Depp is on that record. So that's the first album they made together. In fact, during the pandemic, right during the initial lockdown, they recorded a hauntingly poignant and beautiful version of a John Lennon song called Isolation, which just worked perfectly from that early on in the lockdown. Remember when you really weren't going anywhere? And this was the This is novel, but this is the only way we would have seen each other for a year, or however long that lasted. That part of the pandemic.
Yeah.
Um, and they came. A lot of record albums were made this way, and people were learning they could do jobs from home, and some of them still do. Not everybody needs to go to work. If you're a software developer, I do a radio show once in a while from here for a station in Sacramento. I do it from sitting right here, using this professional microphone. I get the same one that Josh does, I think. At least the same stand. What are you rocking over there, Zach? Is that a Rode also, or Rode?
Yeah, me and Kemper, we got all Rode arms. We got Rode mics, a Rode mixer, all that stuff for when we can actually do the podcast in person, which eventually will be dope.
And I'll have to move.
Like a live event, like have it at a park or a club or a bar.
Have a studio.
Yeah, we can film it live.
Cool. Yeah, because we do film stuff too. So it's we really want to get to the point where we can do more narrative things. And honestly, I was inspired by Rob Dyrdek's Fantasy Factory. So I just kind of want to take all the most
waiting for that to come out on 4K.
Yeah, we need to put everything together. So it'll probably be a gym for sure, because Zach's gonna have a full weight set, and I'm totally down for that.
Need it.
Where's it gonna be? And can I get a membership? I don't mean gym like
you won't even need a membership. You can just come and fuck with it.
VIP.
Exactly.
You know a guy. Huh?
I have a perfectly good gym here at the community where I live, which sometimes I use. I did go through, after I left 911, I retired a year ago, and I went through a bit of a decompression, because that's a stressful job, as I'm sure you can imagine. And without being too surprising, the last couple of years were particularly hard during a pandemic, because we're seeing increases in calls, and seeing domestic violence on the increase, road rage on the increase, people starting to lose their sanity. People that usually can maintain were, so much of that we were all affected by that in some way or another. And so it made my job harder, and it's a hard job, and I loved it, but I was going I'm ready to go. So, once I did that, I go, well, you got kind of fat. This is me talking to me. And, so over the course of the first 7 months of retirement, I lost 75 pounds.
Damn.
And,
wow.
You recognize that sound, didn't you? One of my friends is signing on to the PlayStation Network. Yeah, I lost 75 pounds, and I got back to my college weight.
That's
when
awesome.
I met you. Well, I was trying to think, Kemper, when I met you, I want to say I saved it on my calendar. I have it marked down here as best day ever. Let's see here.
Hey.
Was it February or March? Because I was already I was making progress at that point.
I was probably there for maybe 4 months. So I got hired mid-October. So it might have been January-ish. January, February.
Lars and Tina. Okay. It was late February, because I had taken a guitar and autographed it and gave it to Lars, because he has a home studio so he can hang it on his wall. So then he decided, apparently, well, I should do something nice for Billy. So, and you saw what he did, because you hooked me up, which was pretty generous, I thought.
Oh, for sure.
Do you guys talk on here about where you work and stuff? Is that even a thing at the? You guys?
Yeah, that's totally fine.
Yeah, we get into whatever.
Anybody here ever Googled Kemper Woodruff?
Never. I've never.
I did. The first thing that comes up. Who wants to guess the first thing that comes up? Guess. Not yet, Josh. You got to guess.
Fuck.
First thing.
Happy Hoodlums.
I'll give you a hint. It's a review.
To review.
Oh, is it for me at a dispensary?
Yeah, you were reviewing something with Kush. I don't know what it was.
Oh no, yeah, those are probably my strain reviews. Yeah, so when I worked at the dispensary, I would write reviews of different strains. You should read it. Is it good? If I'm voting.
Well, that's funny you mentioned dispensaries, because I've become familiar with them. in the
Yeah.
last year. I
Oh,
just
yeah?
made Josh's
Yeah.
day.
I just saw it. That is the funniest thing ever.
What? That I went to a dispensary?
No, I just Googled Kemper Woodruff.
Oh, so yeah, I'm not making it up. Yeah.
Well,
Oh, man.
apparently my name means hemp farmer.
Oh,
What?
that you are. That you are.
That's deeper. It's a whole conspiracy.
Have you guys ever been in the
But
same room at the same time? No, wait, I know. I think I saw a picture of Josh and Zack together somewhere on somebody's Instagram. Does that track?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was back when
Josh-
I lived in South Carolina. Yeah.
Josh
Okay.
and Zach have pictures together, and it makes me jealous sometimes. I'm not sure if I ever have even taken one picture with Zach, except for
We've
maybe at
taken-
the end of a film.
Yeah, that's
that
all.
never came out.
We've never sat there and took a selfie together. We're just always like just chilling, having a good
Yeah.
time. But I've been in a room with both of them at different times. They haven't met each other yet.
Yeah.
We've actually talked about making a mural of. It'll be me sitting like this with my arms wrapped around him and him holding me. And it'll be just to make Josh jealous when he comes into the office. It'll be great.
Yeah.
Can I
Fuck
get in
Josh.
on that? That sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Why
Who
not?
doesn't wanna
We'll
be
be
held,
behind
right?
it all with
Man.
little, you know.
Make me more
to look
jealous.
now than I was.
Jeez.
So yeah, I just decided it was time to. I can't do anything about getting old, but I can do something about my weight.
Yeah.
I mean,
Mhm.
I didn't have like a thyroid condition or some other, pre-existing condition. All the rules aren't the same. So I basically just pretty much cut my wine consumption down to occasional levels as opposed to stress relieving levels. I eliminated almost all refined sugar, and I just started
Damn.
doing 30 minutes to an hour of cardio every day. Didn't give myself a single day off.
That's
Mhm.
impressive.
So then I got down to my target weight, and I go, damn, what if I can keep this? If I maintain my diet, what do they call that? Fasting, intermittent fasting, when
Yeah.
you try not to eat the first few hours when you wake up, and certainly you don't want to go to bed on a full stomach, even though I've done it a million times, and it's very comforting. It's not good for you. So I still follow that, and I still just drink occasionally instead of often, and my weight has stayed the same, so now I don't have to go to the exercise room. Win.
There you
Although I
go.
still would benefit from the cardio, but I was
Yeah.
part of my focus weight reduction thing.
You
I've
know,
been trying
it's
to
really
convince my dad
interesting.
to get into exercising, and it's been the hardest thing ever. But I'm eventually gonna get him. I'm gonna crack him.
Once you think about exercise as a tool for life, like
Yeah.
that's kind of how I see yoga too. Like stretching is a life tool and meditation that you can actually use. So,
Right.
for instance, cardio in the morning is gonna like boost your heart rate, and so your resting heart rate's gonna be higher and kind of just taper down throughout the day. And so I was actually just talking to my grandpa about this, because he's been, really sedentary, and that's kind of what got him in the ICU, which is
Right.
what brought me here. And so, just in talking to him, I was like, if you're more active, you get up and you do things and you push yourself, your heart rate's going to increase. And if we can do this all in the morning, it'll just kind of taper down throughout the day. So you'll have some time where you're more energetic to get the bulk of whatever you need to do done. And then
Right.
your relaxation's more relaxing and you're healthier from it. Your digestion's going to be better. So you're going to probably eat better,
Me and
sleep
Zach right now,
better,
we look
do
like
better.
twins. I mean, in the way that Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger look like twins.
I was just watching that movie, and
know.
the chick in that movie is
You said it last episode.
Yeah.
Reducing or crazy or all the above or what?
a 10 out of 10.
Oh,
Like,
all right.
absolute perfection.
Get any better than
Yeah,
True babe.
yeah.
See, I was making my progress, and I take a picture of my scale every day or two, and then
yeah.
I got one of those scales where you can just stand on it, and it will give you like your cardiovascular health and your heart rate. And so I use that now. That was like something else at the Apple store I didn't have. So
Have you ever heard of
Man.
Jocko Willink?
I have not.
Okay, Jocko Willink, he's an ex-Navy SEAL, and so he would post every single morning. He still does. It's like 4:30, and that's when he's worked out. And you always just see a picture of his watch on Instagram.
And
It's
a
always like
pool of
4:30.
sweat below the on
Yeah.
the floor.
You can do that, and you can do it with your scale every morning. Just take a picture of the scale. That can be your thing.
Then I probably should put something on.
Yeah.
To weigh yourself as close to naked as possible. Am I wrong? To get that accurate. So the beauty
No,
is
you're
I don't have
right.
to work. I don't. Yeah, I got to go back to do cardio. I mean, I'm not sedentary, but I just
Yeah.
in my
Mhm.
case, because here's the trick. Anybody will tell you, and I wasn't. It wasn't a matter. It wasn't hard to lose weight. I'm the kind of person that I quit smoking a bunch of times. So once I have really made up my mind to do something, usually, you got to get there. Like you'll quit when you're ready. You'll quit doing whatever when you're ready, or cut it back or whatever. So, but the trick is I really don't want to gain it back. And a lot of people have successful weight loss, but then at some point it comes back. So check in on me, from time to time and see how I'm doing. But I still weigh myself every day. And I had one day on New Year's Day, I went out with my cousin and my other friend and took him up to get some Friar Tuck chicken on New Year's Day at the Cider Mill Pub in Portland. Best chicken in town. And at some point, and I think I had over the course of the day, my buddy was driving, so I think I had a course of like 4 beers. Okay, that doesn't sound like a lot of beer, does it? Anybody?
No.
Josh is going.
No.
Oh, that sounds great.
I
right
wouldn't
now.
know. I would not know.
I'm gonna go buy it. Right. But they were like, I think they were some kind of, those big cans of beer you can get that really will give you like 2 pints. Because me and one of my friends wasn't drinking, and so the point is like I had 4 beers. Then I decided to hit. No, I know what I did. We hit Quickie Mart for the beer on the way back, and for some reason I wanted to give myself a treat. I'd been so good. I bought some Hostess products. I knew
Okay.
Zack was going to smile. The lure of sugar. I bought a thing of Ding Dong.
Yeah, bro.
Little chocolate waxy donuts. And
Oh yeah, I'm a fat kid at heart, bro.
well, and I go, but here's what happens when you put a lot of alcohol. Ordinarily in the 80s, that beer wouldn't have fazed me. It wouldn't even have taken the edge off the Coke. It would have taken more than that. But I'm a lightweight now. And then I've been throwing that sugar in. Anybody ever here cut sugar and then all of a sudden gone to Dairy Queen and had it hit you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Go crazy.
No.
Yeah, it's so that's what happened. I got a little sick that day, and I'm going, wow, I've made progress. That was what was the norm has become the exception. Yeah.
Yeah.
What were once vices? No. So yeah, I'm doing pretty good in that department. Retired.
So-
You have
I
to go
can
to work.
never I can't turn my back on sweets like ice cream. I don't think
Right.
that I'll ever turn my back on ice cream. Or like
Ice cream's
pizza.
so good, bro. Oh,
Pizza's not a sweet, but I just can't betray it. There's certain foods that
Bought a
like
couple of frozen pizzas yesterday. The
like-
small ones. They looked like good ones, and
Oh,
I'm cooking more than I used to. I have the time and I have the tools, but I mean,
Mhm.
I can grill you up some scallops and some zucchini pretty good. I got that figured out,
Mhm.
but nothing masterful. But yeah, but I'm now at the point where once in a while, like I got a hamburger yesterday. I went to get groceries. I'm just gonna get a burger and fries. I didn't get McDonald's. I got Joe's Burgers. They're pretty good. They're a local chain. There's a few of them around here. Joe's Burgers.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of burgers, correct me if I'm wrong, Zack, aren't you out like Cascade? You're like down the river, Columbia River Gorge a ways out there?
yeah, I'm in Cascade Locks.
Okay, have you ever had a char burger?
Oh yeah, I used to work there.
Okay, well, I had driven by it a million times over the years as a kid, and finally, all right, true story, driving up to the Mary Hill Winery to see Jeff Beck, me and my buddy stopped at that char burger and got hamburgers,
What?
and it was good.
Yeah, it was great. I used to work there bussing table, or not bussing table, just dishwashing, and it was it was still pretty good. It was awesome. The cooks there always like they saw the consistency of it. It was just it was always good
Yeah,
for some
so
reason.
that's pretty much everything I know about that area. I don't think I've ever been off the freeway there other than to go to that place. But yeah, that's a
There's
good venue for concerts. The Mary Hill Winery up on the Washington side of the river up past Cascade Locks.
I've
I
never
think.
been there.
It's a winery.
Kemper used to
and it's
work
got a
over in
big
that
outdoor
area too.
amphitheater. It's very nice. So yeah, I'll have a treat once in a while now. We'll see, one day at a time, right?
Burgers are
Keep telling me that.
fantastic.
I tell you
No,
what, dude. It seems like we're being haunted by Jeff Beck.
I hope
you
he's
ever-
a practical joker, huh?
Yeah, I was gonna say, did you not get to meet him or something? And this is him like checking
Never
in
actually
on
did
us?
meet Jeff. No, I've never met Jeff. I've seen him live, like that first concert I was ever at, then just a few years ago up at the Mary Hill Winery, but we never did actually meet.
Oh man. Well, I guess he's tipping his hat to you or something.
Thanks for buying the guitars.
Yeah,
he
he's a hoodlum at heart too.
Yeah. No, but it's like, I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm going to be 65 years old in May, which still puts me, even there, I have a lot of peers in the music industry that are my age, but all of my heroes, that first wave,
Mhm.
those guys are all a decade older than I am. I mean,
Yeah.
Steven Tyler and Aerosmith, he is, see, he is 79, I think.
Damn.
75. They're like 10 years older than me at least. And, God bless them. I mean, nobody expected. The thing about Jeff Beck is, I mean, Eddie Van Halen, we knew he was sick. He had been fighting cancer and Jeff Beck just kind of caught a bacterial meningitis, which I have yet to Yahoo Google, but it took him really quick. It was one of those things that just like, God, why did I go to that wedding that I said I wasn't going to go to? I have a friend who got married last year, and I was supposed to be an MC, but then I kind of chickened out and I canceled. I gave her like a month's notice, left her hanging, but I didn't want to get COVID. And turns out a bunch of people at that wedding got COVID.
Oh, damn.
So.
Yeah.
Oh.
Good call. Trust your intuition.
Well, I was paranoid about it for a long time because I didn't want it, and plus I still had to go to work and be around people and stuff, and I'm around a lot of first responders at work, police officers and firefighters who are actually out, doing their jobs and getting exposed to God knows what, and then bringing that back to the department. So it wasn't as insulated as I would have wished during the pandemic.
And so you've mentioned like your how the pandemic has affected everyone's mental health, and you were able to see it like firsthand and kind of needing to decompress. What's the day-to-day life of an operator like? Phone operator, just dispatching and stuff.
Well, no 2 days are the same. They're not. I mean, the call types, the call volume, the real world going on outside all around you, that's what determines how your day's going to be. I've had days where I've sat there with my feet up on my console and I'm reading a book on my iPad, waiting for something to happen. I've been on the phone with a guy who I spent 40 minutes on the phone with him while the cops tried to get there in icy conditions after he just shot his son. Those are two extremes on one day. And everything you can imagine in between. Yeah.
How do you
trying
prepare
to tell
for
somebody
that?
how to give. What's that?
How do you prepare for that job? Like before you go in,
Well, there's tons of trainings, and you're a trainee on the average, probably for the better part of a year before you're even allowed to be on a console by yourself, because you have telephones, you have radios, you have crime computers galore, you have because I was referencing dispensaries earlier, and when recreational cannabis became legal in Oregon, I still had to abstain because I had a lot of federal security clearances, and it's still not recognized legally or federally. So that creates some problems. Obviously, as you know, working for a dispensary, what do you mean you can't take my credit card? It's, that's all because of federal regulations. Now, was there an out and out rule that said I couldn't smoke pot? Not really, but there again, I just chose because I chose this profession, so I was going to respect it. Plus, I had all those years in radio where it was opposite land. I think I can be okay for a while, right?
Yeah.
So but once I retired, I thought I got to check this stuff out. And I vowed years ago I was never going to inhale any smoke again, cigarette, tobacco, weed, whatever. But boy, tinctures, gummies, it's just a magical thing. Chocolate.
Oh yeah.
I got gummies, but then I realized they had a lot of refined sugar, and I go, wait a second, I'm on 0 sugar, so tinctures. So that's kind of, no calories, unlike
Yeah.
wine, or unless you eat a lot of ice cream after you've words. So I've been good about that.
During Christmas, me and my dad made brownies together for the first time, and we put a whole bottle of tincture into it, which was like 900 milligrams in this whole bottle, and that was the highest I have ever been because I took way too big of a piece of that brownie, and I was like hallucinating because at one point I was scared to close my eyes because when I closed my eyes, I would get transported into like this tunnel, like I was traveling at hyperspeed in Star Wars, and it's just a bunch of light going around me. I'm in a tunnel going like this, and that feeling that you get when you go when you go over a hill, that feeling in your
Yeah, your
stomach.
stomach dropping.
Yeah, I had that
Yeah.
over my entire body, and the longer my eyes were closed, the more intense that feeling got. It was
Yeah. So
terrifying.
that's like that fear that manifests as like a pit of despair in your stomach, bro. And you can get that on mushrooms, and things are like a cyclical loop, and that's like the worst shit. But
You know what I don't understand? And this could be a discussion for another time, but it's like I haven't yet figured out CBD and CBN. I don't know what it used to be. You wanted weed, you just
So-
bought weed from a guy and you hoped it was good.
CBN is like, think CB night night. It's good for inflammation, and it's good for muscle spasms, and it helps you to sleep. CBD acts very similarly to how a white blood cell does. And so anything that's like a cellular dysfunction, like an inflamed cell, it helps with arthritis. It'll help. That's why it kills cancer cells. Anything that's like an abnormal cell, it's going to go out and kind of wrangle.
Well, and that was
And
the thing that was intimidating to me about it, and is that well, then as you well know, the levels of CBD and CBN vary so widely. I mean, it's all clearly labeled and stuff, but do you want a little CBD? And I know you can get the CBD and CBNs without the cannabis part. I mean, you can just go to Washington Square and buy some CBD oil,
yeah. So there's something to be said about not breaking chemical bonds based on the level of heat exposure and how long, you're gonna extract it and what the solvent is. There's a lot that kind of goes into it, versus if you were to make, like, I don't know, butter and just kind of use the loose leaf on it instead of extracting it down into something for like an RSO, which would be Rick Simpson oil. That was the CBD that they would give to people that was actually um, in such a high like quantity, the regiment, ever increasing each day. You'd start with like half a pea size amount on your finger, and each day you would increase it until you're taking like a full gram of this oil each day. And it would actually help some terminal patients, and save them. And that can only really be achieved in that extract form, because you probably just can't eat that much edibles and shit like that. The
Right.
plant's just not designed for it. But yeah, and isolating chemicals kind of changes how it can get into your blood brain barrier before it recognizes, hey, this isn't how it's normally found, and phases it
Brain
into your
barrier.
blood.
I'm pretty sure I have that.
Yeah. So certain chemicals only penetrate so far.
What was
Look
it
good,
like
Josh. I'm going to be 21 in like 8 minutes. What?
He's
We don't.
excited.
Yeah, I'm
He's
just.
got a 6-pack under his bed and shit.
No, I got the
Start to
cartridge
ask
ready.
me,
I'm
Zack.
ready to go.
There you go. Well, what I was gonna ask was because we were talking about Star Wars before we started the podcast, I think, and you mentioned having seen all of the Star Wars in theaters, and so I was curious what it was like to go see the original Star Wars in theaters.
Well, and the real thrill, quite frankly, came from the original stuff because this is something
Yeah.
we hadn't really seen a movie quite like it before. And to that level of, because everything he did, and I'm sure you've seen the movies and you've seen the makings now with the current state of computer effects and animation and graphics, you can literally put anything on the screen that you can imagine. Anything. There is no limit. And it looks real.
Yeah.
But in 1977, those are practical models and green screen sets and all that stuff. But to go to the Westgate Theater in Beaverton, Oregon in 1977 and sit in your friend's car and share a joint or do a couple of power hits off one of those squeezy bong things, to go in and see and sit down and the cool new age music is playing and seeing Star Wars. I believe it was in Dolby Stereo, I think then. I'm not sure if they even had surround channels yet, but it was still, I mean, like I said, I'm sure I went to see that first one probably 4 times,
Wow.
and I was never like into it like events. I have friends who do cosplay and spend thousands of dollars on their Darth Vader costumes and all that, and they go and do benefits at these visit kids at hospitals and stuff and have their presumably some sort of kinky Star Wars themed sex party. And and I was never that. Although I do have a pair of, my mother, God bless her soul, bought them for me in the late 70s. I have a pair of Star Wars pillowcases.
Well,
I
Okay.
still have them. And I haven't used them since the 70s, so they are pristine. And I should frame those, hang them up on the wall. But no, it was a thing. And movies, now you don't have to even go to the theater to see a movie, which, because you might have a really good theater in your home, which I do. But, the one over there at the Regal Cinema by me, or AMC, whatever it became, still pretty great.
yeah.
But yeah, it was really an event back then. It was just something special. And so none of the movies had the impact of the first one, because it's like the first Van Halen album was so amazing that you weren't really surprised by anything they did afterwards, even though a lot of it was better. Of course, then everybody got really excited for the prequels, which came out around 1999.
Yeah.
And this is what happens when you cut George Lucas. Nobody's supervising George Lucas. You get movies like, the prequels.
Yeah, Phantom Menace.
What's that?
Was that Phantom Menace or whatever?
Yeah,
The first one?
the Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
Yeah. That first trilogy kind of maligned a lot. I don't think it was bad as people thought, but the George Lucas, really not the best script writer. He's a great idea guy. He created that entire world, at least the foundation of it that we saw starting in the 70s. That's why when it came around to doing the last 3 movies, with the whole Rise of Skywalker and all that stuff, I knew, especially when they gave it to J.J. Abrams, even the guy that did the 8th movie, these guys are not only approaching it with all these technological advances at their fingertips and presumably enough money to do whatever they want, but they're approaching those Star Wars movies with a reverence for them, a respect for them, a feeling for them that George Lucas couldn't have. You can't be objective about your own self. Get in his mind where Star Wars, he can't stand outside of it and see it as anybody other than George Lucas, who's got too much of an investment in it. So I think that's why 7, 8, and 9 for me are so good, is because they were made by people who, this is a responsibility and I am into this, but I want, that's why the first of the last prequels, I mean, a lot of people said it was just the template of the first movie over again. And I can see that, but you want some familiarity when you're bringing back a franchise like that. You don't want the same story, and I think they did a good job. But I think partly it's because it wasn't George Lucas who, he didn't, I'm sure he had his hands as a consultant or something, but I don't think he was really needed at that point. So that's why they're so good.
That might be the most well thought out and conveyed the response we've had on our podcast.
Yeah,
Like about anything.
for real.
Yeah, you nailed that one.
It's just one guy's opinion, you know. You guys are fun. I wish we could all
Yeah,
hang out like in the same room. That'd be cool.
I'm
I
down.
know, that's why I'm saying once the studio is built, we will assemble. And it will be so cool. The Happy Hoodlum studio is gonna be the fucking shit.
Yeah, it is.
What movie is that from, Zach? Or is that just
What,
you're
this?
doing this?
Oh, I was in my
Thinking of,
head. I
like,
was thinking.
Transformers.
In my
Aw,
head, I
man.
was thinking Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy unite from SpongeBob, but
Oh,
but I don't know what that's from.
Cool.
Oh, man.
But it's
Maybe
heart
Power
sound, it doesn't
Rangers. I
matter.
don't know.
The vancomycin.
Transformers, though, I've had a
Yep.
little addiction with. I've watched like 5
I'll be
first
right in.
episodes in the last 2 days.
You
Do you like the
guys,
Transformer movies?
Oh, I was never like into them, but they're coming out
You
with a
watch
new
'em.
one, so I was like, I'm gonna rewatch them. And
Because 6 isn't enough.
Yeah.
what?
There was like 1 through 5.
Oh,
and then the
no, there's
Bumblebee
like-
one.
There's like what 7 or 8, but I've only watched like
Fast
the
and
first 5.
Furious.
I watched them all in like 2 days, though.
I do love movies.
Oh,
I got a
yeah.
big TV and I
Excuse me.
sit really close to it.
I
You
gotta
leaving?
go help my grandfather real quick.
No, you're good.
Okay.
So
Well, are we? I'm not the boss of the show, but this is when this is much fun. We could look down at our watches and go, "Wow, Josh is 22 now."
What?
You know, because we
Oh, not yet.
lose track of
Nice.
time. You know, like playing video games, you're having fun, and you know, I don't want to overstay my welcome, but I'm retired. I'm not going
yeah.
anywhere.
Yeah.
And Kemper's stripping now, so it looks like the show's starting.
Let's go. Get the music on.
All right.
I still got an hour till I can buy stuff. So
Okay, I wasn't sure if it was 2 or 3 hours difference there. Is that your?
Yeah,
What
I
did
just
you
wanted-
pick up? Do you have a plan? You picked up an ID, or what did you pick up off your desk there? When we were talking about midnight, you turning 21,
oh,
you said you got.
I picked up my keys. I said I'm ready to go.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah.
Are you far from? Are you in civilization? Or are you kind of out in the boonies?
I am really into. I'm like 5 minutes from the beach, so real
is that like-
close. Everything's by the beach, like casinos, all the gas stations.
It's like
all the
5 minutes
stores.
from a Walmart.
I'm 5. Yeah, I'm 5 minutes from whatever.
Okay, you
Yeah.
got everything you need in Biloxi.
Oh, yeah, just about. Yeah.
And now where you live, Zach, do you have like a river view? Are you in the woods or I don't know much about Cascade
like-
Locks.
I don't have a river view, but if I walked like less than a mile, I could get to it. It's like I just walk. I go out my front door, go to the right, and walk down a hill, and it's right there.
It's nice out there. I never was
It
a big fan
is.
of driving in the gorge in the winter, but they usually they shut it down. But
Oh yeah, it's pretty rough sometimes. Like we've had times where the winter was so bad we were locked in for 3 weeks, meaning locked in by the highways getting shut down. We could still get
Right.
to like the local grocery store and stuff, but
Winter's
Very
suck here,
limited.
too.
now, Josh, did you live in Oregon at some point, or have you always?
No,
Is that where you lived these days?
I was born in Utah, and me and Zack, it's been like 7-8 years, and we met playing video games.
yeah,
But,
we met
So-
playing
It is-
Call of Duty. Actually,
yeah,
Okay.
I was.
But the pictures
17
of
or
you guys where
18.
you're actually physically in the same space, where were those?
South
You guys went on
Carolina.
hunting or shoot-
yeah.
What's that?
yeah. That was when
They
I
were in
lived
South Carolina.
I'm sorry, you guys both went green at the same
Sorry.
time.
Josh. Go, Josh. You got it.
It was when I lived in South Carolina.
Oh, okay. All right,
Yeah.
cool.
Boom.
I have
That's
not
part of the
been there.
downside of the technology.
The little
It's like you have 2
2-second.
people talk at the same time. It cuts
Yeah.
out and does all that crazy stuff. When we get this podcast in person, it's gonna be so much better.
Oh, I'm getting smacked if I interrupt.
But sometimes you have the best stuff to say, so don't ever stop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I never heard the term man spreading until I watched you guys. So
Really?
yeah, I've heard mansplaining, and given the visual,
Yeah.
I understood exactly what he was talking about.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Nobody's watching, and then it comes back. What's that?
most of
Oh,
these
man.
podcast episodes are just me getting embarrassed or something.
Excellent.
They always got something smart to say to me. But
Oh, I see here. Here's a note I had from last time. One of those recent ones, you, Josh, were talking about wanting to start a band.
oh, honest.
You mentioned that. Is that
Yeah, I was kind of joking around with
sure?
all three of us like starting like our little band or something. But
Right.
yeah.
I know a guitar player if you need one, than me. But
Hey, we'll
we're
take
all
it.
in separate towns.
Guitar
Take it.
player and a tuba player.
Yeah, I was in marching band in high school. I was a good.
Do you have
old
a tuba?
No,
Do you
that's
still- Yeah.
too expensive for me.
Why would you keep it, right?
He has a guitar.
Yeah, I do have a guitar, but
I saw that on your wall. What is it?
What?
What kind of guitar? Bust it out.
Yeah, what kind of guitar is it?
I'm not playing nothing.
Is he really
Still
good,
learning.
or is he really bad?
Oh yeah.
Have you heard him play, Zack?
Yes.
It's I started, man, when did I've only been playing for like a few months, but I
Well, that's
bought a
cool.
guitar because of a church I was going to, and one of my friends there was like, "Hey," he's like, "I'll teach you guitar for free," and I was like, "Heck yeah!" But it's an Abenese. I don't know. Have you heard of Abenese?
pretty.
Oh yeah, I
Mm-mm.
love this thing. It stays in the back.
Where'd you get it?
I got it off of what's the website? Sweetwater.
StolenGuitars.now.
No, I got it off Sweetwater's. It's like an audio
I don't.
website. Yeah.
I've got a Sweetwater guy. I spend a lot of money at Sweetwater.
Oh, I can imagine.
Oh,
I was
man.
looking at your Instagram, and all the guitars on your Instagram is insane.
Yeah, and some of those come. Some are gone. It's like I think I currently have like 19 at the moment. It's been more and less.
Oh,
Damn.
But,
What was your first guitar?
the first guitar that the family actually bought for me was the brand was Lyle, Lyle. I got it in 7th grade at a guitar store, a little family guitar shop in Beaverton. It was essentially a Japanese copy of a Gibson ES335, which is a very popular, very common guitar shape you've
Yeah.
seen. It was like $100 guitar, but that was my first guitar, and it worked. But then for the longest time, only in the first half of playing guitar, you can't afford. I mean, if you're going to get a new guitar, it means you probably got to sell the one you got. So you're doing a lot of trading. Eventually I was able to get some more money and start keeping a few, especially once I started gigging at that point to become your tools at that point. So,
Yeah.
I have some that are 50 years old. I have a 1970 Fender, and then some that are really new. I bought a guitar not too much different than the one you have. I bought a Yamaha acoustic just to have it leaning up against the wall. I'm not a very good acoustic player, but I know all the chords. But it's challenging.
Yeah.
It's harder to play acoustic than electric.
Really?
Well, it's harder to play acoustic like an electric. If you want to just
Yeah.
play pretty chords, then no. But haven't you ever seen a guy in a rock band doing an acoustic version of a song, and he goes kind of okay till he goes for the solo? Then it's like, okay, this is wimpy. Metallica.
Yeah.
Metallica just did a benefit. Anybody hearing of Metallica? They just did a benefit. They opened with a song called Blackened, which is a deep, deep cut from one of the first or the second Metallica record. It's pure thrash, but they opened with it acoustically. Nobody even recognized the song until the lyrics started coming out. It's like, unplugged. Do you have to unplug?
Yeah.
I vote you plug in loud.
Yeah. Do it right. I've always been like fascinated with how cool people can make electric guitars look. All the different like shapes and sizes, colors and designs and stuff. It's it's another way of like the artist representing themselves. It's pretty dope.
Yeah. There's some that
Well,
will
and
do a whole
that's an
splatter
art by
painting and
itself.
stuff.
The luthier, the guitar maker, I've known some really, really amazing guitar makers that are mediocre players, but
Yeah.
their skill is the craftsmanship, and boy, it takes skill to make a guitar. It looks easy, but that wood's got to be glued together just right and trimmed just right, and there's a lot of steps that go to making guitars. Even a lot of them come from overseas. I mean, there's a Fender plant in like Mexico. There's a Fender plant, in Asia but they're made basically the same way. It's just the labor is cheaper, so you can buy one for $500 instead of $2,000.
Yeah.
And they're good guitars. They're made well. They're just made elsewhere. But yeah, they're pretty cool. They're pretty great. That technology. I love music. I love movies. Yes, I did have Star Wars on Laserdisc. I really did. And I had two. I had the Dirty Harry box set on Laserdisc too. Those are old school movies. I just dated myself there. So where are we at now? Is he coming back, or was that the show? Did it come? He's still alive?
We're gonna fingers crossed that he comes back.
Yeah, I'm hoping he comes back. Because I know
if he doesn't,
I
then we can end it. But
I think Zach, you might have a question. I know I have like a closer question. So
go ahead, hit me. Besides, I think he's been dragging the band down anyway. I think this is working better.
Yeah, honestly, I think this is the way to go. Josh, go ahead and ask your question.
Are you sure? I just want to know, do you have any advice for this generation of like anyone from like 20 to 30 years old? What would your advice be?
Anybody, I was really, really blessed in one area of my life, and that is somebody said once, I don't remember who it was, said your vocation should be your vacation, or your vacation should be your vocation. Basically, you should like your job so much that you do it for free. Yeah. And that's where I was in radio. And early on in radio, I mean, I was making $600 a month and sharing an apartment with two people, but that's $1981. You could actually pull that off, and your rent was paid, you had food, and you could afford Ham's beer. But a lot of people get stuck in jobs where they're miserable, and that breaks my heart. You got to. My grandmother gave me a book when I was a kid called "What Color Is Your Parachute," and it's basically about figuring out it was personality traits as they would apply to potential career scenarios and work situations and all that. So if anybody can figure out what they love to do and then figure out a way to monetize it, I'm not talking about getting rich quick, but you just make a living. A lot of my friends in the music business are millionaires, and a lot of them are working paycheck to paycheck, but they're working musicians, so they're enough so they don't have to have their day jobs. Figure out what that is, because there's so many opportunities now. I used to tell people all the time, well, go to college, but I don't know if that's really good advice anymore, considering how expensive it is. Yeah. And I even when I went through college, a full year of tuition at a state school, I graduated from University of Oregon, a full year of college was $900.
What?
And now that would be thousands of dollars, thousands and thousands. I don't even know how much that would be now.
I went through
inflation, but it's gone up way more than any inflation rate has, because there's been less federal funding for colleges, so they have to make up the revenue somewhere else. That's what I heard. So if you can figure out what you do and figure out a way to make it work, now how to figure that out, that I don't have any advice for.
Yeah,
there's probably a lot of ways to do it, but well, here's a good example. I have a really, really beloved former co-worker who's still a friend, who works herself very hard and very well in emergency communications. Her passion is cruising, going on cruise ships. A week here, a Mexican cruise, wherever, Alaska. Yeah. And so I'm thinking, and not this would apply to her, but here's an example of what I was talking about is, Why don't you get a job on a cruise ship? There's a million jobs. You could be dealing blackjack. You could be cleaning rooms. You could be serving drinks. You could be a pool person. And there's always going to be reasons why you don't want to do it. And I tend to focus more on the reasons that would make it work, because there's always a good reason to talk yourself out of anything, especially because if it's scary and it's a risk.
Yeah.
But apparently somebody's working somewhere, making it working on a cruise ship. So that was just one example. It's like, I've never been on a cruise, but boy,
Me neither.
food would sure be good.
Yeah.
I think I'd
We should
feel
all meet
trapped.
up.
It's like
Go on a cruise.
yeah,
There you
or
go.
just meet up at that casino down the road from your house about 5 miles. Now that you're,
Yeah.
is it
the Hard
21 or
Rock.
18 down there to go gambling? What's the age?
21.
Okay, because some states
Yeah.
it's 18. So
Yeah, you can't even walk on the floor unless you're 21. You can't. They'll start spazzing out.
I hope that
Yeah,
answers your
Zack
question.
Mark
That's what I
there.
think of.
Yeah, that's good.
Kemper.
I'm
Welcome
back.
Welcome back.
I made a comment about you a few minutes ago that you'll see in the playback, and it was meant with love. And I don't know
He
if it
doesn't
was
watch the episodes back.
He doesn't.
Not usually.
Not
It's
usually.
very.
Well, why
it, was,
would
it was very heartwarming.
it was better than fuckface, but not a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, dude, as men, that's like, someone loves you if they care enough to fuck with you and play around with you.
I just made
know?
some reference, like we was speculating how long you'd be gone because I know you're taking care of your grandpa, and I said, you guys really, since he's not here, the band's kind of doing better without him anyway. So that was
Fuck that guy.
that's your full disclosure. Now, is it
Hell
just my
yeah.
imagination, or is the average? And I don't like stereotypes, but sometimes they apply. Is the average? Are you guys all in your 20s?
Yeah.
How old
Yeah.
are you? Jack? Okay. Is it on the average? Is it really? It seems to me like a 20-something-year-old male in America is a whole lot more, is deeper. It's going to sound cliche, but are you more in tune with your feelings and your emotions and sharing than men were even when I was 20, or certainly my
Yes.
parents or grandparents? I mean, Kemper, when the example of Josh Perfect, the total bro thing, fuck face. I call my friends that all the time. And you're right, it is out of love. But then you immediately countered with, that was very aggressive of me. That never would have happened in my life, in my time. The second part, the first part would. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You immediately had considered. You said it, and then it was cool.
Well, thanks, man. Zach's one of those people that I know I could have just left it at what it is, and we understand. But it's more in me training me to stay on top of respecting the people that I'm around, because I've lost a lot of people in my life, and they can go that quick,
Yeah.
And so, like, if I love you, like, if you're my friend and you call me and I'm not like, all right, I love you at the end of the phone call, like, something's fucked up.
Well, that's something else. We had a brief text exchange, and you immediately called me to set this up. No, I don't remember the last time somebody in their 20s called me on a cell phone, and it's like, your text or you TikTok or Bing Bang or Instagram or whatever. You don't
Bing Bang.
I just made that up. You can use that if you want. That's an idea.
Bet.
So I just thought that was very old school, male, macho, fuck face. And I believe it was Josh you were talking to, not Zach. But then immediately you countering it. So I thought that's growth. Maybe that's growth for not your personal growth, because I don't know your growth. But I mean, is that true? Are you guys the only people your age that are as cool as you are? You can't be the only ones.
No, I think that part of it, is that there's a guilt that came with that, like, whole toxic masculinity shit before I caught it.
Right.
And I think that there's a portion of it that I really accredit to being raised by my mom, Like, I think in I have so much admiration for my mom and her ability to problem solve in a way that's like diplomatic yet like authoritative, you know?
Mm.
And um the way that she could handle herself and not lose her dignity trying to protect some ideal of respect. You know what I mean? Like the situation can be fucked up, but I'm going to handle it in such a way that's so humane, you know? It's overwhelmingly loving and considerate. And I think that's the way the world should be, you know? And there's a level of life isn't going to go that way and you need to know how to man up and endure like hard shit, but you can really do that much better and more efficiently if you're graceful with yourself and with other people. And sometimes if you've been through a lot of shit, it's like I would just do anything to keep you from feeling the pain that I've had to feel. And so I'll protect you from that. And like that's what being a man is. So I'll show you a side of me that could, me allowing you this moment of vulnerability with me,
Right.
you know, and not being scared about it. Like that's man shit, you know? And so you can still call each other like, hey, fuck face. But then on the flip side of that, it's like, I fuck with you, bro. You know, I never want there to be a margin for you to doubt that I love you if I
Right.
love you.
Yeah.
Well,
I
and
oh,
if you're a typical uh, American male who plays online video games with his friends, it's more common than not for that conversation to deteriorate relatively quickly. And it's usually words
yeah.
that if you printed them, they would not look good. But
Mm-hmm.
but that's just, what are you supposed to do when you're driving around or flying around a fictitious world, you know, shooting people and running over pedestrians and just with reckless abandon, it's,
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
you know.
dude, people would get canceled if Xbox Live parties were recorded in
Oh,
2010.
dude. Oh,
Don't
that
get me
was not
started on cancel culture. I have here's my problem with the cancel culture is that I think we, at least in this country, in probably in a lot of civilized nations, we care way too much about what our celebrities think.
I
Mm.
We
agree.
should be we should be cared about we should care whatever your politics are, I don't care. We should care about what our elected officials think and what they say. But we shouldn't give a damn about some linebacker's view on the war in Ukraine or Roseanne Barr on Ambien and tweeting things that got her canceled. I mean, we shouldn't care what celebrities say. We shouldn't give their words that much weight. We should. They can't. They ripped her show off the air. Her highly successful syndicated show, all those seasons and reruns, and the new one. They
Mm-hmm.
erased her. Of course, she came back a few months later, not in the new show, but they brought them all back.
And
But
Roseanne's cool as shit.
I agree. I'm a big fan. I'm not even defending
Yeah.
her tweet. I don't.
Yeah.
But I'm saying like she's a comedian.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a comedian. You know.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be taken so out of context. And I just, like I said, I think we should focus on anybody who's again, regardless of politics, anybody working on the taxpayer dollar who's representing us. Those are the people we should be paying attention to, not what some basketball player thinks or
Well,
some comedian or musician. I mean,
we don't promote personal accountability when it counts in this society that we live in right now. Like we reward it in this weird bumper sticker way, like, oh, look at this person. It's similar to like if you got a bumper sticker and put it on your car, it's like, hey, I support this kind of thing. This is how I think, you know? And you might not ever go out and do more, put more of an effort in than that, you know? And right now, what we're seeing is like people getting called on it. Even I was watching my grandpa listen to, say, Biden getting caught with fucking documents in his garage that are
right.
confidential or something, and it's sitting next to his Corvette in his garage, right? And it's like, how do you defend these things? There's, or even in gun control, seeing things where it's like the people that may be a representative of one side or another at the highest levels are not even reading the other side's arguments. And it's like, how do we not call bullshit on this?
Right. But I just say leave the entertainers and the sports figures, vote with your dollars. If you don't like something that Roseanne said, don't watch her TV show, don't go to her concerts. People complain about the price of a beer at an NFL stadium, but they keep paying it. Otherwise, the beer, it's simple economics. The price of the beer would go down if nobody was buying their beer. I guarantee it would go down. But assholes like me who, hey, I'm here, I might as well spend $20 for a beer. There's enough of us that, we do. Not that I've ever been to a sporting event. I mean, a piece of pizza and a beer, one beer at a concert now is like $25.
What?
And so, but there again, it wouldn't be if people weren't paying it. So, vote with your dollars, I say, and just keep an eye on what the elected people are saying.
Yeah.
And of course, listen to and watch the Happy Hoodlums every week.
100%.
You got that
That's
right.
good for your health. Doctors recommend it. But I really think that vote with your dollars is the philosophy that kind of drove Happy Hoodlums to be, in that we want to create something that's an alternative for people to just be themselves and just be dope, be goofy. Like, that's why I'm sitting here in a shirt that my grandma definitely shrunk. You know what I'm saying? I'm granny house down. I even got my mismatched blanket that I rocked for like half of the show. And it just is what it is. You show up as you are, and you just love on people and give them the best of what you got.
I like that.
Fuck
Good night,
yeah.
everybody. No, wait. Zach had a question for me, I think. You still have a question for me, Zach?
Well, this was just to go back on like your tech enthusiasm. I was curious what the last gadget was that you bought that you were impressed with.
Actually, it wasn't the last gadget that I bought. I bought it in the last couple of years, but it's one that's really, really, it's not a fun one like something. The last gadget that I bought that I'm in love with is a piece of gear from a company called Cambridge Audio. It's a network streamer, and it's got built-in DACs, digital to audio converters, and it's made my stereo sound better because it's hooked up. So that's my happy place. But the gizmo that I bought, I came home from, I was still working at 911. I came home after a 12-hour shift and my microwave is running. And I'm going, okay, I live by myself and I didn't leave the microwave running when I went to work 12 hours earlier. So I thought, so then I start pushing the buttons to stop it. It's not stopping. It's going, I finally had to unplug it. So I had a broken microwave, so I get a new one. But then I started shopping around and I found this gizmo from a company called Breville. It's this oven that's it's not a traditional microwave. It's an invection, or it microwaves differently. But it's also a convection oven. It's most microwaves. If you have 1,000-watt microwave, it's going to heat your food with 1,000 watts. And if you're running it at 500 watts, if you have it at half power, it's going to hit it at 1,000 watts 50% of the time. It's got that one generator does 1,000 watts. This one will, instead of running at 100%, 50% of the time, 100% power, it will actually lower the power level and run constantly. So it actually makes microwave food better. But it's also got an air fryer in it and a broiler.
What?
It's one device.
What?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's not just Breville that makes them, but it's your air fryer, it's your traditional microwave. It's an oven. It'll combine the technologies. You can take let's say you bought a half a rotisserie chicken, right? All marinated from the meat department at your favorite overpriced store. And you just push chicken, 2 pounds, blah, 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 and it does it. It'll use the rotisserie element, like a broiler on the top to brown it when it needs, but it'll also If it's a big piece of meat, it'll use the microwave to get the cooking going a little quicker and use regular. So yeah, everybody needs one of those. Oh, and if you drink coffee, you want an espresso machine.
You're on some
Oh, I
Jetson
got one.
shit, bro.
I want some what?
I said you're on some Jetson shit. You
Oh,
got
yeah.
like that microwave.
Yeah. But I don't have a flying car, but I do have an oppressor in GTA 5.
oh shit!
That's like a flying motorcycle.
Shoots rockets.
Yeah, my
and
friend I
shit.
was playing with, he leveled up to 500 yesterday. I'm at like
Holy
437.
moly.
That's crazy.
Do you guys,
You know,
who currently plays, does anybody in this room play GTA 5 that I could play with?
I don't have a PlayStation.
Yeah, we-
unfortunately. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
We have-
if that ever
we have
happens, let me
computers.
know. Yeah. And I used to do like old Microsoft Flight Sim back in the day on computers.
Yeah.
And that sort of thing. Not really know what I was doing, but there you go.
Man.
Boom.
dude, I have to tell you and give you your salute while we're on the air. You might be the happiest hoodlum of all because I think you're the longest guest. We've been going for almost 2.5 hours. I think you're the longest episode of Fish.
Just over 2, not almost
Yeah,
2.5.
yeah.
Just over 2?
Just
okay.
hit 2.
No wonder you
that was
don't
all
want
of our playtime.
Sorry, fuck. Now I fucked it up.
Well, all right. I gave you it a little preemptive. But I really appreciate like your mind and just that you're the kind of person. That's what I mean when I said I knew you were genuine like right away. We sat and talked at the gun store for like way longer. You had all your stuff picked up, but we just kind of just sat and chopped it up. And
Thanks for carrying it to my car. That was heavy.
Yeah.
Box.
well, it's all relative, right?
Yeah, I'm. That was just good timing, but yeah, you just never know. Yeah, that's still my favorite thing about life, good or bad. You just never really know what's going to happen, who you're going to run into, and sometimes you just have a nice surprise. And that's what you were to me, was just a nice surprise. And
thanks, brother.
it was that simple. So now I know like all of you. And
Mm-hmm. And
cool.
if you ever want to come back on, you are always welcome. If you ever have anything you want to promote or anyone that you think is cool, you send them our way.
Well, I know that's really appreciated, but I think ultimately, just on my initial assessment of you guys, I think someday we will all be ruled by or die by Josh's hand. I think he will be the one we answer to moving forward. I think he's the guy. Yeah,
Hey,
I think
I'm
that's
fine
the
with
guy.
that.
Yeah, he's just coming into his power. It's almost
Yeah, he
there.
will. I know. Yeah, it's like what's the thing in Star Wars where you wave the sword around? Jedi. That's what you are.
Yeah. We're
With
Jedi
Mhm.
Master, and he's our Padawan. He's coming out. Then he's gonna get corrupted by the dark side and take us all out.
Oh no. That
Yep.
ain't happening.
Are you going to
And
have
I'm
an
gonna be
alcoholic
sick.
beverage tomorrow?
Tomorrow? Oh,
today?
probably. Yeah.
Excellent.
That's
All
a
right.
yes. That's
Well, you better
All right.
FaceTime your boys. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
dude, I'm probably having like one. Come on. Maybe one. I don't know. My dad says that it's impossible to have one, so.
Well, it's
So you're
not,
the-
but it sometimes it can be
Yeah, it's-
ceremonial. Sometimes it
Yeah.
can be crazy, but
Yeah. It's my birthday.
as long as
One
yeah,
don't do.
21. I remember turning 21. I was in college. I was out of college. I was still in Eugene. I don't know if this is still a thing, but every bar in the old days, anybody time it's your birthday, they're going to give you a free beer or whatever. So I don't know if that's still a deal.
That's what I'm.
I didn't get that.
Someone
got
bought
one.
me some. I didn't get a free beer, but I did get. They gave me like when I got my tequila shot. They gave me like a double, and I don't know if you've been to like dive bars in Portland, but
I
they
have.
each serve cups, bro. Like straight. I was like, this is a lonely man's shot. I'm thinking it's gonna be a regular like 1 ounce shot. They gave me a fucking cup times 2, and I was just done. I was done.
Yeah, I remember Club 205. I'm guessing it's still a thing if you know the name of it. I don't know. I haven't been there in a long time.
I don't know if that's what it's still called or not, but I know there's 2 of them over there, and one of them always has a funny sign.
That'd probably be Club 205. I haven't been over there in so long. That was a 90s thing. Some of them even had good steak.
I know
Might
where
be a
we're
problem.
going.
They got.
Boom.
Are you ever going to come out here and visit? That's the question.
Yeah, I have. I
You-
have.
You far come visit again someday. You're the far away one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
They want me to
Boom.
move.
Hey, thanks for
Alright.
keeping me up past my bedtime.
Oh yeah.
No
Anytime.
problem.
That's the hoodlum
That's
part
Well,
of us.
it's stupid. I'm still going to bed like on my old work schedule hours. And my body, I
What?
haven't worked it out. And you don't want to mess with your sleep if you don't have to,
Yeah.
but I really do want to stay up later than I have been. So I was at a casino Monday night and I was like, I'm going to bed. It was like 8 o'clock. Boy,
Dude, I'm
yeah.
telling you, do some jumping jacks. It's a trick
Push-ups.
because either if you're in public, you don't want to do jumping jacks, so you're gonna look goofy as fuck, and you're gonna be like, "Get it
Well,
together."
And
Or
I'm not
if you
even
have,
sure if my old bones I should even be jumping jacking. You know,
yeah,
you're gonna come down, land wrong once, and you're gonna go, that was a stupid idea.
yeah, you gotta watch
No,
out
I
for
know.
the
I
jumping
just,
jackers.
but I like waking up early too. I like getting up and making some coffee and starting the day before it's even daylight. It's kind of got its own cool vibe, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Wake up.
That's true. Early morning does have its own
1000%.
vibe.
All right.
This is the first winter where as a 911 dispatcher, you have to work regardless of weather. You have to get to work. You don't get a call out. So the weather would stress me because we don't get snow and rain here reliably. We get rain reliably. We get enough. We can have winters that are pretty mild, but then some are catastrophic events, and I had to drive in those. So we had that big freeze here a couple weeks ago, and I'm looking out the window, going, I don't have to go out in this, and it was like, so that was like, because that was a source of stress. You're just white knuckling it, right? Because it's not just
Yeah.
how well you drive, but do people around you drive well? And
Mm-hmm.
I was always that guy in the number 2 lane going slower, letting everybody go around him, but I always got there. Never slid off the road and always made it. So that's kind of
Nice. Well,
embarrassing.
you can't be too safe.
No.
Safety
No.
first, always.
Yeah, remember, if you're a hoodlum, you need to safety first. Wear helmets
Always.
and rain jackets
Get your boots on.
and knee pads if that's your thing, okay?
Elbow pads too.
All right, cocksuckers.
Yeah. Zach's ready for anything. No,
Anything.
I don't run anymore. I walk now. That's good enough. It's just activity. You don't have to lift things. If I can lift myself out of bed, it's a good day. So, but yeah, a little exercise. But yeah, I got my college weight back, and I'm almost 65.
Let's fucking
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
That's what it's about.
I think at 10 more pounds, it would have been my high school weight.
Damn.
Because I was 230 pounds when I started this. Even when I met you, Kemper, I had just started this, so I'm sure I was 225, 230 pounds when I met you. And
Yeah.
and so, and now I'm 155, 156 right around there. So
We're looking
Yeah.
healthy.
Whoop,
So it's
whoop.
working.
going to buy new pants.
Yeah.
Hell
Yeah.
yeah.
Felt good, I bet. Hell yeah.
Buying
Oh
new
yeah, as the
pants.
gut starts shrinking, it's like, do you feel that you've gotten more clarity? That your thinking has changed?
No, my thinking was never very good. I'm kidding. I didn't warn you how sarcastic I was. I'm trying best to reel it in because I can say so much just dry, and you're gonna go, what?
To me, it's like Chevy Chase, where it's like you get it like 30 seconds later, and then he's already off. It's like the movie Fletch.
Yeah. I love Fletch. I just bought Fletch and Fletch Live off iTunes, and then I saw the Confess Fletch with John Hamm. That's really good, by the way. That's actually a really good reboot.
Okay.
He's nailed it. He's doing it his own way, but he's nailed his sarcasm.
Mhm.
Like there's one part where he's trying to find a van. He needs a used van for a distraction, and he goes, "Yeah, I saw your ad on OnlyVans."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like,
Stupid.
but you have to deliver that just right. It's like, I feel weird in a good way, like going to the gym drunk.
Mm-hmm.
Bill's fucked up. He's going to the gym drunk. No, I'm not. But it wouldn't be funny. But if you're not doing it, it is funny. That's comedy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, feeling guilty for laughing at something,
Mm-hmm.
because you should laugh at it. But, you know, coping mechanism, you betcha. Laughter's pretty good. And it has
Yep.
good effects on your soul, too.
It really
It's
does.
survival, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Just pure
Survival of the
survival.
fittest.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So now what? Now what do we do? Do we have like an
Well,
after hours?
we
We
need
do an
to-
after hours show, charge members to
Well-
come in, and then they.
we
tell
need to
somebody
know
what.
where people can find you. So shout outs to
Oh, I'm
social
retired. I
media
mean,
or anything.
once in a while, I still fill in at my old radio station in California. I did because it's everybody does the shows remotely, and they had
Mhm.
that storm. They got hit really hard down there. A lot of people lost their internet and their power and stuff. So I had filled in a couple, but I'm retired from any full time. As far as social media goes, I'm Bill Prescott 911 on Instagram and Bill Prescott on Facebook, and because a lot of people still do Facebook.
Easy
I didn't do
peasy.
TikTok, so
Why not?
and
You
I
didn't
have
wanna-
Twitter.
You didn't want to do all the TikTok dances?
What's the difference between TikTok and Instagram? Is there one if it comes to reels versus stories or whatever? I mean, are you looking at little video clips of people? And I mean, is TikTok different? Do you guys do
TikTok's
TikTok?
really just like whatever trendy songs going on, then there's some dance to it, and so every like high school or across the country will.
So
be
is
doing
everything
dance.
about it surrounding music? I mean, is that kind of the way it's set up?
Yeah, mainly it's. I would say
Well,
mainly.
apparently
music,
now they're
but-
trying to ban it because it's not very secure because it's based out of China. So they're worried about internet security.
Oh,
And
their
then-
terms of
Yeah.
service are crazy.
Yeah.
Like if you have a TikTok account or TikTok on your phone, they can access your phone through devices you haven't used, or like your information through
Wow.
devices you haven't used, and that's what you agree to when you download TikTok.
Yep.
It's
I believe
crazy.
in 2004
Finally
they would have
got
called that.
me.
I think in 2004 they would have said sketchy. Right?
Yeah.
Is that good?
Sketchy.
Yeah.
Bro, that's
Or
sketch.
Excuse me. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Sketch.
right.
I
said you
finally
downloaded TikTok?
downloaded the wrong app.
Oh man.
Tomorrow, another episode of Old Guys Trying to Be Cool.
Yeah.
starring me.
Yeah. Sketch. Oh, shit.
All right. Well, this is our final goodbye. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Bro.
I appreciate
I
you,
didn't know
and
what
we'll
to
have you back.
expect, but I knew it would be fun and cool, and it was. So if I
Oh,
helped out in
thank
some
you.
small
Thank
big
you.
way, but yeah, I mean, I watched enough. I watched enough after I met Kemper to go like, yeah, these guys are cool. I mean, you gotta, I just can't throw myself out there like some sort of internet troll or shit on it.
Well,
You
thank
should.
you, man. That's
You
really
guys,
bro.
inspirational to know that we got it from
Means a
someone
lot.
who's
All
been
right.
down the road and back, baby.
All right, if there's a celebration, Josh, we'll need pictures. I'm sure you can
Oh,
get
you
them to
got
those
it.
guys, and
Oh, I'm gonna.
and
Dude, Kemper and Zack will have pictures of me just wasted, probably. I don't know.
All right. We'll send them over.
Mm.
Until next week,
Right.
everybody. Signing off. Happy